Chapter 1979. Different Choices. Chapter 1979. Different Choices. The celestial Varch had already fallen, and only left behind an imprint. How did he die? This was the Heavenly Emperor, an unrivaled existence. Who could kill him? Could he also be a Heavenly Emperor? Everyone's hearts were filled with questions. You're here for my physical body, right? The celestial Varch spoke again. Everyone's face turned pale. Now that the mark of the celestial emperor had appeared, they didn't dare to tell the truth. Even if the celestial emperor only had a wisp of the mark left, he could kill them with a single thought. Lu Ming did not say anything. The galaxy did not say anything either. The celestial thearch's mark's gaze eventually landed on Lu Ming and the galaxy. The two of you are somewhat related to me. If you want to force your way forward, I won't stop you. Xing Chen's eyes lit up, and he cast a cold glance at Lu Ming. The celestial thearch's mark. It was said that Lu Ming was related to the celestial thearch's mark. He could not help but think of the celestial thearch's sword. I'm a descendant of the celestial emperor. This celestial emperor's corporeal body is mine. The galaxy roared in its heart. But one have to remind you. At this moment, the celestial emperor's mark continued to speak, but its expression became very serious. Since you've made it this far, I won't stop you. As long as you step forward, you'll be able to obtain the celestial emperor's corporeal body. However, this will cause great changes. The people in Yuan Mountain will be plunged into misery and suffering, and blood will flow like rivers. Countless people will die, including your family and friends. A single thought can affect the life and death of countless people. You have to consider this carefully. Lu Ming's expression changed. And MBSB, if he went forward, he would cause great changes. The people would be in misery and blood would flow like rivers. Even his friends and family would be affected. How did this happen? Not only him, but the other people's faces also changed greatly. The celestial emperor's mark wouldn't do anything without a purpose. All kinds of thoughts flashed through everyone's mind. I'll give you 10 breaths to consider. If you don't come forward, then retreat. The Heavenly Emperor's mark said. Lu Ming did not think too much. He shook his head slightly and retreated. He had cultivated his entire life with the thought of reaching the peak of martial Tao. But more than that, he wanted to possess great strength to decide his own fate and protect his family and friends. If the celestial thearch's physical body put his family and friends in danger, and the people in misery, Lu Ming would rather not have it. This was not his path of martial arts. Bang! Lu Ming retreated, but the galaxy stepped forward. Are you sure? The celestial emperor's mark asked. What does the life and death of others have to do with me? As long as I can reach the peak and become eternal, everything will be worth it. Xing's indifferent voice sounded. In his heart, he only cared about himself. Any other life or death, even if it was the life or death of his loved ones, was worth it as long as it could help him. You'll never be successful if you are selfish. In the crowd, Huang Ling said hatefully. But this kind of person is also very terrifying. Luo Tianyi said. This kind of person only thought about himself, and did things unscrupulously. It was indeed terrifying. Bang! Bang! Xing Chun continued to step forward, his body becoming faster and faster. He seemed to be attracted by a mysterious force as he flew towards the stone man at an extreme speed. The next moment, the body of the Star River actually directly entered the body of the stone man and disappeared. The celestial emperor's mark sighed in disappointment. Then its body collapsed and disappeared. Buzz! At this moment, a terrifying aura rippled from the giant stone man. Wisps of faint light emanated from the stone man's body. Kacha! The next moment, the golem seemed to move, and a cracking sound rang out. What's going on? Celestial Emperor's corporeal body is moving. I'm not seeing things, right? He's indeed moving. His arm is moving. My God! How can the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body move? Could it be the Star River? He has merged into Celestial Emperor's corporeal body, and is controlling it. Someone shouted in shock. Lu Ming's expression changed abruptly. He retreated rapidly and shouted. Retreat, quickly retreat! Boom! At this moment, the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body exploded with a terrifying aura. This aura was as vast as the heavens, and was impossible to predict. It was like the heavenly Tao that was impossible to resist. This was the pressure of a celestial emperor. The celestial thearch's corporeal Bodhi's eyes looked in Lu Ming's direction, filled with a cold and indifferent light. Lu Ming, today is the day you die. A voice came from the celestial emperor's corporeal body. It was filled with cold killing intent. It was the sound of the galaxy. Lu Ming's face was very gloomy. He did not expect that he would merge into the celestial thearch's physical body and control it. He had thought that he would only get it. If he had known this earlier, he would have stopped the Star River, even if he didn't want the celestial thearch's corporeal body. At this moment he could only retreat. Lu Ming retreated hastily. So did Huangling Longchun, Ouyang Wushuang and the others. Lu Ming, you can't escape. The voice of the galaxy sounded again. Boom! The celestial emperor's corporeal body suddenly stood up, and an unimaginably terrifying aura burst out, enveloping the entire ninth world. Everyone was unable to move under this force, including Lu Ming. Roar! Lu Ming seemed to have heard a terrifying roar erupting from his third blood meridian. It seemed to be very unhappy, but it seemed to be suppressed by a powerful force. Only Lu Ming could hear the roar. Lu Ming, you're still far from being my match. The voice of the eternal Star River was heard again. The celestial thearch's physical body stood in the air, as high as the sky. A terrifying aura constantly spread towards Lu Ming. Then, the celestial thearch's physical body stretched out a large hand and grabbed Lu Ming. The giant hand covered the sky, and was so powerful that it was impossible to escape or resist. Lu Ming, Fengling Longchun, and the others were shocked, and their faces were very ugly. However, Lu Ming's face was filled with surprise, because at this moment, in his sea of consciousness, the celestial emperor's sword was shaking crazily, and it was suffused with mysterious light. Buzz! The next moment, the celestial emperor's sword rushed out of his sea of consciousness and hovered above Lu Ming's head. It was also rapidly growing in size. Soon, an extremely huge sword appeared, and the aura it gave off was just as shocking. That's the celestial emperor's sword. Many people shouted in shock. The celestial emperor's sword had appeared. Could it be that it was going to fight against the celestial emperor's corporeal body? Slash! With a single thought, the celestial thearch's sword slashed out violently at the palm of the celestial thearch's physical body. Boom! A terrifying explosion erupted, and the entire world was shaking. Many people's expressions changed drastically. Their bodies trembled, and they staggered back with blood flowing from the corners of their mouths. After the sound of the collision, the celestial emperor's sword flew back and hovered above Lu Ming's head. The celestial emperor's massive corporeal body also took a few steps back. The celestial emperor's sword is mine. I'm the descendant of the celestial emperor. Lu Ming, what right do you have to wield the celestial emperor's sword? Give it to me. The eternal Star River bellowed and controlled the celestial thearch's physical body. It stepped on the void and charged toward Lu Ming. Chapter 1980. A Change, the Great Emperor Enters. Chapter 1980. A Change, the Great Emperor Enters. Xing Chun controlled the celestial thearch's physical body and punched Lu Ming. Slash! Lu Ming muttered, and the celestial thearch's sword slashed out again. There was another terrifying boom, and the celestial emperor's sword and physical body were both pushed back. What they didn't know was that at this moment, a shocking change was happening in the Lotus world. The moment the celestial thearch's corporeal body rose, an invisible force rippled out and spread to the other 8 worlds. Roar! Roar! At this moment, some of the most ancient ruins in the 8 worlds let out earth-shaking roars. The divine time island of the Myriad Sea realm let out a heaven-shaking roar as the power of time swept through the heavens. At the bottom of the underground cave in the Myriad Beast realm, the roars were even more shocking. Some people were still taking the risk, but they were directly injured or killed by the power of the roar. It was the same in other worlds. It was as if a supreme demon was about to be born. Outside the Lotus world, below the heavenly Emperor Mountain, from all directions, a dense crowd had gathered. Of course, most of them were below Absolute Saint, but there were also a lot of powerhouses above Martial Emperor. There were even a few figures standing at the highest point, surrounded by divine light. It was a shocking sight. They were the great emperors. Everyone was waiting quietly. The people who had entered the world of the lotus flower had been here for quite some time. They did not know what kind of opportunities they had obtained. Many people were very envious, but at the same time, they were also looking forward to it. Boom! At this moment, the cave in the lotus world suddenly burst out with a powerful light that shot out of the clouds. But then, the light disappeared and the entire cave became dark. Even the projection of the lotus in the sky disappeared. The lotus world's isolation power has disappeared. A great emperor asked in bewilderment. What? The others were also greatly shocked. The lotus world's isolation energy had disappeared. Did this not mean that those above the rank of Martial Supreme could also enter? Many of the Martial Emperor powerhouses' eyes shone with a burning light. Roar! Roar! However, at this moment, a terrifying howl came from the cave. It was as if a supreme demon was roaring. But it also seemed like a supreme demon was about to be born. It was too terrifying. What's going on? What is this? What exactly is in the world of the lotus flower? How could there be such a terrifying sound? Did the people who entered earlier encounter these existences? Many people's faces turned ugly. The emperor's expressions were solemn. The force of separation has indeed disappeared. Let's go in and take a look. This was the voice of Emperor Notionless. As soon as he finished speaking, he took a step forward and rushed into the cave. Then, the emperors from the Hung family, the He family, and the Daluo Heaven sect all rushed into the cave. Emperor Formless and the other three appeared in the sky above the lotus world as soon as they entered the cave. Although there was a power in the lotus world that wanted to draw them to one of the petals, the power of a great emperor was strong enough to resist this power and choose which petal they wanted to enter. Emperor Formless took a step forward and charged into one of the petals. The other three great emperors also rushed into the different petals. Outside, the true emperors and void emperors all revealed greedy looks. This was the remains of the celestial emperor. How could they not be tempted? Even if there were terrifying roars coming from below, they would not retreat. One figure after another rushed into the cave. At this moment, a few figures flickered in the sky in the distance. Their speed was unbelievably fast as they rushed into the cave with the many martial sovereigns. No one could see the appearance of these figures clearly. When these monarch-level experts entered, they also entered the different flower petals. The world that Emperor Formless had entered was the 10,000 Seas realm that Lu Ming had first entered. The moment he appeared in the Myriad Sea realm, he looked in the direction of the Divine Time Island. Immediately after, the space split open, and he stepped in. In the next instant, the space outside the Divine Time Island split open. An Emperor Formless figure appeared. Roar! A terrifying roar rang out from the Divine Time Island. What powerful time power! There's actually such a powerful creature sealed here. Could it be left behind by the Celestial Emperor? Emperor Notionless murmured. His eyes were like stars, capable of seeing through everything as he gazed into the depths of Divine Light Island. Nothing could be hidden from his eyes. He could see all the living beings at the foot of the Time God Mountain clearly. Emperor Formless' expression changed. Alien race. This is the evil god race. Emperor Formless' face darkened. Since I've touched you, I'll completely obliterate you. Just as he was about to make a move, he suddenly looked into the distance and shouted. Who's there? Selah. The space over there suddenly cracked open, and a few footsteps came out. These figures were completely shrouded in the pitch-black demonic light, emitting a terrifying aura. The aura of one of them was no weaker than Emperor Notionless. He was a peak great emperor. Wuxia, one haven't seen you for many years. How have you been? The great emperor realm expert said. Demonic spirit and evil spirit, it's you. Emperor Formless' cold voice rang out. If there were other people here, they would definitely be very shocked. This was because Emo Ling was the legendary cult master of the demon spirit cult. Many years ago, he was active near the Heavenly Emperor City. He was a terrifying force that specialized in killing martial sovereigns, or those with the potential to become a sovereign. And the evil spirit was the evil spirit cult master. Even though this person was not a great emperor, He was still in existence that stood at the peak of the true emperor realm. The masters of these powerful evil forces had come here at the same time. Evil spirits, you guys go and destroy the seal. Old man Wuxia, leave him to me. The demon spirit religion master's voice rang out. His body moved, turning into a terrifying demonic light as he charged toward Emperor Wuxia. You are indeed from the evil god clan. Don't even think about letting the evil god clan out. Die. Emperor Formless roared as his aura erupted. He struck out with his palm, sending a terrifying palm print towards evil spirits group on the island. Wuxia, your opponent is me. Devil spirit religion's master's devil chi soared into the sky, and his terrifying devil blade slashed out, splitting the sky in half and blocking Emperor Formless' palm print. Get lost! Emperor Formless struck out with his palms in succession. The great Tao imbued his body, and each palm strike contained the power to destroy the world. However, the devil spirit religion's master was also a great emperor. He was in the same realm as Emperor Formless, and his battle power was also terrifying. His demonic blade swept across, blocking Emperor Formless. Boom! Boom! On the other side, Evil Spirits Group had successfully rushed into the Time God Mountain and shattered the remaining 2 ancient altars. Roar! Let's go! The huge figure at the foot of the Time God Mountain roared. His aura was violent and shocking, and it rushed out like a stormy wave. The entire Divine Light Mountain exploded, sending rocks flying everywhere. Clang, clang, clang. The massive figure struggled as the chains around its body collided with one another. The entire Divine Time Island was shaking violently. Chapter 1981. The Birth of a Terrifying Creature. Chapter 1981. The birth of a terrifying creature. The massive figure struggled and tugged at the chains, causing the entire Divine Time Island to tremble. Some places even began to crack, and the entire Divine Time Island was on the verge of collapse. Come and help me cut off this damn demon suppression chain. The giant figure spoke. Yes, my lord. Yes, master. Evil Spirit and the others bowed and accepted the order. They then exploded with terrifying attacks at the chains. Buzz! 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 The cultivation of these figures was extremely terrifying. Although they hadn't reached the Great Emperor realm, they weren't far from it. All kinds of attacks landed, and the chains shook and sparks flew. With the help of the giant figure, one of the chains broke with a clang. Ha ha ha, I'm finally going to be born. Hung you, if you didn't kill me back then and used my power to suppress the void passage, you'd be too smart for your own good. 111 make you regret this. Ha ha ha. And MBSB, ha 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 ha. The giant figure laughed crazily, its aura even more astonishing as it struggled. Although Emperor Formless was anxious, he was being held back by the demon spirit religion master, and was unable to stop him. Buzz! And MBSB whoosh! The sound of chains breaking could be heard. Then a terrifying aura shot up into the sky, shaking the sky. Boom! At this moment, the entire Divine Time Island crumbled apart as a massive figure stepped out. As he walked forward, his figure began to shrink. Finally, he became the size of a normal person, revealing his true appearance. This was a dark-skinned middle-aged man. He was naked, and the aura he gave off was extremely shocking. He wasn't any weaker than Emperor Wuxia, or the demon spirit religion master. He was also a great emperor. Boom! The middle-aged man threw a punch at Emperor Formless. Emperor Formless blocked with his palm, fighting against the demon spirit religion master and the middle-aged man. Although the middle-aged man had been sealed for countless years and wasn't as strong as he had been in his prime, he was still an emperor-level existence. When he joined forces with the demon spirit religion master, Emperor Wuxia was at a disadvantage. And in another world, the Myriad beast realm, another figure descended from the cave, where Lu Ming obtained 2 of the 9 sealed scrolls. This person's aura was extremely shocking. He was also a great emperor. Moreover, it was not the great emperor from the He family, the Hung family, or the Daoyuo Heaven sect, but an unfamiliar great emperor. A huge blade appeared in his hand. With a slash, the entire cave was cut in half. Roar! At the bottom of the cave, an excited roar was heard, and the iron chains clanked against each other. Quick, help me cut off the chains! An excited voice came from the depths of the cave. The man in the air once again slashed out with his giant blade. A few saber gleams slashed down, and the sound of iron chains breaking could be heard. Roar! Then a loud roar sounded and the earth cracked. An extremely huge lizard crawled out from the depths of the earth. It was like a beast that had come from the prehistoric times, and it was terrifying. This giant lizard was actually a great emperor-level existence. Let's go to the other worlds and save the others. The man in the air opened his mouth, and the space cracked open. He and the giant lizard stepped into the space and arrived in another world. The emperor of the Hung family was in one of the most ancient ruins in this world. A powerful being is sealed within. Emperor Hung's face was gloomy. Suddenly, the space split open, and the giant lizard and the great emperor expert arrived. A great battle immediately erupted. The emperor blocked the emperor from the Hung family, while the giant lizard moved to rescue the powerful beings in the ruins. Because of this, the Hung clan great emperor didn't dare to continue fighting and retreated. As for the other three experts, they continued to the other worlds and rescued the sealed experts. As the number of enemies increased, the great emperors of the He family and the Daluo Heaven sect were scared away and didn't dare to stop them. Not long after, all the powerful existences in the 8 ancient ruins of the 8 worlds were rescued. All of them were at the great sovereign realm. This was definitely a terrifying force. Return to the 8 worlds, move the worlds, open the void passage, and welcome our tribe. A voice rang out. It turned out that the experts who were sealed had returned to their original worlds. On the temporal island in the Myriad Sea realm, Emperor Formless was at a complete disadvantage. And NBSB suddenly, the middle-aged man retreated back to where the Divine Time Island had been. A shocking ripple exploded out as a pillar of light shot into the sky and spread in all directions. At this moment, the entire 10,000 sea realm was shaking. In the Mingyan country of the vast sea region, Ruan Tianjiao stood in the sky above the imperial palace. He looked up at the sky with a serious expression and said in a low voice, "The heavens and earth are shaking, and the roars are endless. What's going on with this world? Is it related to outsiders? Lu Ming, what happened to you?" It wasn't just Ruan Tianjiao. Everyone in the 10,000 sea realm, as well as other worlds, looked up at the sky. Their faces were pale, and they felt fear. They felt as if a great disaster was about to befall them. In the 9th world, Lu Ming controlled the Celestial Thearch's sword and fought against the Celestial Thearch's physical body, controlled by the Eternal Star River. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of moves. Suddenly, terrifying roars came from beyond the heavens. They came one after another with astonishing power. Many people's expressions changed drastically, not knowing what had happened. "Lu Ming, the Celestial Thearch's sword is mine. Hand it over." The Eternal Star River roared, and the Celestial Thearch's physical body rushed toward Lu Ming again. In his eyes, the Celestial Emperor's physical body and the Celestial Emperor's sword were both his. Lu Ming was not qualified to control them at all. Clang! Lu Ming controlled the Celestial Emperor's sword and fought with the other party. After more than 10 moves, they were still in a stalemate. Boom! 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 Suddenly, heaven and earth rumbled, and the entire sky started to shake. It was as if the entire world was being moved. Buzz! Buzz! At this moment, the Celestial Emperor's sword and the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body trembled uncontrollably, emitting a brilliant light. The next moment, a figure flew out of the Celestial Thearch's corporeal body. It was the Star River. What's going on? The galaxy roared. The Celestial Thearch's sword above Lu Ming's head trembled and flew out. It was held by the Celestial Thearch's physical body. What should have happened has happened, but one can't just ignore it. The Celestial Emperor's corporeal body actually opened its mouth to speak. After saying that, it took a step forward, and its huge figure suddenly disappeared. "No, my Celestial Emperor corporeal body," the galaxy roared, extremely unwilling. Celestial Emperor's corporeal body had suddenly left him, and he found it hard to accept. With the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body, he could instantly become a peak expert in the world and become an overlord. Martial artists rely on themselves. Only when they're strong can they be the strongest. It's ridiculous that they only think about external things. Lu Ming remained calm. The celestial emperor's sword had flown away, so it was gone. The path to the peak could not be sustained by a single sword. Only by improving oneself could one have the power that would forever belong to one. Lu Ming, damn it, Xingchen shouted coldly. He was blaming everything on Lu Ming. If Lu Ming had not stopped him, and he had left with the celestial thearch's corporeal body earlier, this might not have happened. Chapter 1982. Chapter 1982. Chapter 1982. Invasion of foreign races. Chapter 1982. Chapter 1982. Invasion of foreign races. I think you're the one who should die. Lu Ming's eyes were cold. He took a step forward and walked toward the galaxy. Xing Chen's expression changed. He did not have the celestial thearch's physical body, and was no match for Lu Ming. He quickly retreated and roared. Lu Ming, I thought you don't need external help. If you're so capable, why don't you fight me with your true abilities? Alright, let's battle at the same level, Lu Ming said. You, Xing Chen River gritted his teeth. He was not confident that he could win against Lu Ming in a battle of the same level. He might even lose more miserably. How could he agree to this? You're 2 levels higher than me, yet you're asking me to fight you with my true abilities. You don't dare to fight me at the same level. What a joke. Lu Ming sneered and mocked. Xing Chen's eyes were very cold. If he could, he would have cut Lu Ming into 8 pieces. But at this moment he could only escape. Buzz! Suddenly, the void trembled as a powerful force descended and enveloped everyone. The next moment, the world spun, and they disappeared from the 9th world. Lu Ming found himself in the sky above the Lotus World, in the huge underground cave. Around them figures kept appearing. Huang Ling Long Chen, Ouyang Wushuang Luo Tianyi, and the others had all come out. Of course, Luo Tsangxiong, Heng Xingha, and the others had also come out. It wasn't just them, but those who were exploring other worlds were also moved out by a powerful force. Look, what's that? The 9 worlds are moving. A vortex has appeared in the heart of the lotus. Someone shouted. Lu Ming and the rest looked down and were shocked. From this position, they could clearly see the situation below. Below him, the 9 petals of the lotus flower were slowly moving outward. And at the center of the lotus, a vortex appeared. Roar! Roar! Suddenly, a terrifying roar came from the vortex. Then 2 pairs of giant claws stretched out from the vortex. These 2 pairs of claws had sharp nails, and were covered in scales. They looked very ferocious. Then the 2 pairs of claws grabbed one side of the vortex, as if they were trying to expand the vortex. A shocking scene appeared. The vortex was actually slowly growing larger. Then 2 huge creatures poked their heads out of the vortex. The claw just now had come from them. This is... Lu Ming's pupils contracted rapidly. Lu Ming was all too familiar with this kind of creature. Its entire body was covered in scales, and it had a 3rd eye on its forehead. It looked like a 3-eyed god. Could this vortex lead to the 3-eyed god race? The 3-eyed god race is about to invade. Lu Ming's mind was spinning, and his heart was extremely heavy. When he was weak, he followed the ancient desolate city, and mistakenly entered a small island in the heavenly realm. It was the first time he came into contact with the 3-eyed god race. And after that, he would come into contact with them from time to time. He had seen the Titan longhorn beetle during the Battle of Providence, and later during the Hunyuan sex assessment. And in BSB at the same time, he began to understand more and more about the 3-eyed god race. The 3-eyed god race didn't belong to the heaven realm, or the primordial realm, but to another world. However, countless years ago, they attacked the heaven realm, causing a great war to break out in the heaven realm. The people were plunged into misery and suffering, and blood flowed like rivers. Countless experts had fallen. Dandan once said that the final battle would soon arrive, and it was also related to the 3-eyed god race. Could it be that the 3-eyed god race was about to attack? He finally understood what the celestial emperor's seal meant when it said that the 3-eyed god race was invading. Roar! Roar! These 2 3-eyed gods were completely different from the ones Lu Ming had encountered in the past. Their bodies were too burly and incomparably huge. As they supported the vortex grew larger and larger. Kill all the way to the primordial realm. My clan will rule the world. Roars came from the vortex, causing everyone's expression to change. What is it? Someone's voice trembled. Could it be that the previous 9 worlds were suppressing this passageway? Someone speculated with an ugly expression. At this moment, the space above the heart of the lotus flower cracked open, and a huge figure appeared. It was the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body. From this angle, the Celestial Thearch's body seemed to be about the same size as the three-eyed god. Evil god race, get back to your world. The Celestial Emperor's corporeal body roared as he slashed down with the Celestial Emperor's sword. The arm of a giant three-eyed creature was cut off by the Celestial Emperor's sword. Roar! The three-eyed creature roared, and a beam of destructive light shot out from its third eye toward the Celestial Emperor's body. However, the Celestial Thearch's corporeal body punched out and destroyed the light of destruction. At the same time, the battle sword stabbed down, piercing the three-eyed creature's forehead. Blood gushed out as the giant sword reached the hilt. Sword chi exploded, crushing the three-eyed creature's head into pieces. After the three-eyed creature died, its claws let go of the vortex, and its massive figure disappeared into it. The Celestial Thearch's corporeal body wielded a combat sword and was about to attack another three-eyed creature. But at this moment, space cracked open, and a few figures stepped out. One of them was the demon spirit religion master. You're only left with a physical body, yet you still want to stop us. Today, it'll destroy your physical body as well. The devil spirit religion master coldly said as he charged toward Celestial Emperor's corporeal body. Celestial Emperor's corporeal body slashed at the demon spirit religion master with a backhand, sending him flying. Even if the Celestial Emperor only had his physical body left, his power was still shocking. Selah. At this moment, the space kept cracking open, and a figure stepped out. The dark-skinned man from the Divine Time Island and the gigantic lizard from the Myriad Beast Realm were both emitting a boundless aura. Great Emperor! They're all great emperors! Someone shouted in shock. These people who had suddenly appeared were all great emperors. Could these existences be the sealed existences in the ruins? Someone voiced out his guess. Many people were silent. It seemed that something big was going to happen. The previous changes might have been related to these powerful existences. Some people cast their gazes toward the galaxy. They remembered that the Celestial Emperor's mark had said that if they stepped forward, they would cause great suffering and blood to flow like rivers. Perhaps he was referring to this. Wasn't all of this caused by the galaxy? Xinghe snorted coldly, his face gloomy. He didn't care about the lives of the people. But what did the life and death of others have to do with him? What he was thinking about now was how to get his hands on Celestial Emperor's corporeal body and Celestial Emperor's sword. Boom! Boom! A terrifying battle had erupted. The demon spirit religion master, the giant lizard, and the other experts attacked the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body at the same time. The void at the heart of the lotus flower trembled. Hengyu, you've suppressed me for countless years. Today I'm going to devour your body. The giant lizard roared and spewed out terrifying flames that surged toward Celestial Emperor's body. The Celestial Thearch's corporeal body slashed the flames apart. Chapter 1983. Chapter 1983. The Great Emperor Falls. Chapter 1983. The Great Emperor Falls. The Celestial Thearch's corporeal body slashed through the giant lizard's flames and charged toward it. However, the other great emperor powerhouses also made their moves at the same time. All kinds of terrifying attacks bombarded the Celestial Emperor's body. Hengyu, not killing me that year was your biggest mistake. Today, one will tear your body apart. Those powerful living beings had been suppressed for countless years. When they saw the Celestial Emperor's body, they were filled with brutal intent and endless killing intent. Their eyes were red as they unleashed terrifying attacks. Although these beings had been suppressed for countless years, and their combat power had been greatly reduced, they were still great Emperor Realm beings. Their strength was still significant. After all, the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body was just a corporeal body. Many people joined forces, and all kinds of attacks landed on the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body, forcing it to retreat. However, even though the Celestial Emperor's body had retreated, there was not a single wound on its stone body. Buzz! The stone sword trembled, and the stone man burst with a brilliant light. At this moment, the Celestial Emperor's physical body seemed to have recovered. The stone sword streaked across the sky, and sword light burst forth. The expressions of several powerful existences changed drastically as they were sent flying by the sword. At this moment, the space in that area cracked open again, and more experts stepped out to join in the attack on the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body. Kill our way out. Wash the primordial realm with blood. Behind the vortex there were constant roars. The killing intent was like a tide, making people's faces change. The massive three-eyed god was doing everything it could to keep the vortex up, trying to make it bigger. There were a total of 10 great emperors attacking the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body. Everyone's faces turned ugly at the sight. 10 great emperors, what a shocking number. The number of great emperors in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Land didn't even add up to 10. Many of them had a serious look on their faces. If the Heavenly Emperor couldn't stop the alien races, the consequences would be unimaginable. The Celestial Thearch's physical body glowed brighter and brighter. At this moment, his stone-like body seemed to be transforming into a body of flesh and blood. His combat strength was also becoming more and more terrifying. The stone sword flew across the sky and blocked the attacks of the 10 great emperors. Selah. At this time, the space kept cracking open. Emperor Formless, Emperor Hung, Emperor He, and the great emperors of the Daluo Heaven sect all appeared. They all had serious expressions on their faces as they joined the battle to help the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body resist the great emperors. Kill. With a helper, the pressure on the Celestial Thearch's corporeal body was greatly reduced. He shouted, and the stone sword broke through several attacks in a row. He rushed to the front of the giant lizard and slashed out with the stone sword. At this moment, the stone sword seemed to have turned into an indestructible divine object. It was extremely sharp and cut off one of the giant lizard's tails. Roar! The giant lizard roared and retreated frantically. At the same time, the attacks of the other powerhouses landed on the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body. However, the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body could not be bothered at all. It was as if there was only the giant lizard in his eyes. The attacks landed on the Celestial Emperor's body, causing it to shake for a moment before it continued to attack the giant lizard. The sword light pierced through the void and entered the giant lizard's glabella, sinking into the hilt. Hung you roar! The giant lizard let out a roar of despair. But in the next moment, the Celestial Thearch's physical combat sword sliced the giant lizard's body in half. Endless blood and flesh were sucked into the two worlds and disappeared. A great emperor had been killed by the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body just like that. Of course, this was also related to the fact that the giant lizard had been suppressed for many years and had yet to recover its strength. However, it was still shocking enough. Kill. The Celestial Thearch's corporeal body went berserk as he attacked the others. After a few moves, he killed another powerful existence. The Celestial Emperor's corporeal body had killed 2 powerful enemies in a row. This was shocking. Every single one of them was a great emperor. They were at the peak of their power and were terrifying to the extreme. But now, they had all fallen one after another. There's not much energy left in his physical body. He only has a wisp of mark left, so it's difficult for him to mobilize the heavenly Tao energy. If we attack him together, he won't be able to hold on for long. The Devil Spirit Religion Master roared. Their attacks continued to bombard Celestial Emperor's corporeal body. The battle between Emperor Formless and the others was also very intense. All kinds of power flashed, and the great Tao was added to his body. It was extremely shocking. Fortunately, the space near the world of the lotus flower was special. Although Lu Ming and the rest looked like they were not far from the world of the lotus flower, they were actually very far away. Otherwise, they would definitely have been implicated by the aftermath of the great emperor's battle. Even so, it was still shocking to see. Boom! 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 The shockwaves from the clash between great emperors were too great. The 9 lotus petals, which were 9 worlds, shook violently as if they were about to explode under the terrifying energy. Whoosh! A jet-black destructive light burst forth and swept through one of the worlds. The space of that world was torn apart. Even though Lu Ming and the rest were far away, they could see that countless people in that world were destroyed by the destructive power and turned into ashes. 10,000 Sea Realm. Lu Ming's gaze turned to the 10,000 Seas realm. The realm was also shaking violently. If it was pierced through, the people inside would be in danger. Lu Ming revealed a worried look. The celestial thearch's corporeal body exploded, and the light became even more resplendent. He launched a storm-like attack and seriously injured another powerful existence. However, the aura of the celestial thearch's corporeal body began to weaken. In the end, it's too difficult to turn back. Celestial Emperor's corporeal body shook his head. Then, he threw out the stone sword, which turned into thousands of sword lights and attacked those existences. His corporeal body instantly split into 8 and became even larger. Each figure carried a petal and flew toward the endless void. Only the 9th world had no one, so he didn't care. Finally, the celestial thearch's corporeal body carried the 8 worlds and charged into the boundless void. Heavenly Flood Dragon, take care! Lu Ming muttered and heaved a long sigh of relief. Even though worlds like the 10,000 Sea Realm might never cross paths with the primordial realm after entering the vast void, they could at least survive. Kill! At this moment the vortex was slowly expanding. Then a dense number of figures rushed out from it. These figures were all very burly. Each of them was covered in pitch-black scales and had a third eye in the middle of their brows. Three-eyed god race, they're all three-eyed god race. Lu Ming's pupils constricted. These figures were almost identical to the three-eyed god that Lu Ming had seen before. Some of the three-eyed god race were riding on mutant beasts, while others were flying through the air. All of them had powerful auras, but the moment they charged out, they were crushed into pieces by the auras of the great emperors. Kill them and let the army in. The demon spirit religion master shouted, and the remaining 8 emperor-level experts madly attacked Emperor Wuxia and the others. Let's get out of here. Some people were scared witless as they flew towards the sky above the cave. At this moment 2 shadows flashed. 2 figures appeared near Lu Ming and the others, each of them exuding a shocking fluctuation. It was the aura of a great emperor. A great emperor expert had arrived. This isn't a place for you to stay. Hurry up and leave. Return to the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, and then leave Heavenly Emperor City. One of the elders, whose body was covered in terrifying flames, said. Then he waved his hand. Lu Ming and the rest felt a powerful force surging towards them. In the next moment, they flew out of the underground cave and appeared outside the cave. Chapter 1984. Chapter 1984. Heavenly Emperor City Chaos. Chapter 1984. Heavenly Emperor City Chaos. Then, could it be the other 2 great emperors from the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy? Ouyang Wushuang guessed. It's possible. Lu Ming and the rest nodded. What should we do now? Huang Ling asked. This matter is beyond our ability. Let's listen to the great emperor and return to the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy first. We will take Xiang and the rest and leave the Heavenly Emperor City. I feel that the Heavenly Emperor City will not be peaceful in the future. Lu Ming said. Everyone nodded in agreement. Boom. Boom. At this moment below the cave, the rumbles were even more terrifying. The shocking fluctuations even caused the Heavenly Emperor City to shake. Beams of light shot out from the cave. The battle below became even more intense. Let's go. They didn't stay any longer. They rose into the air and rushed towards the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. The others did the same. They turned into streaks of light and left. As they were flying towards the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, the shaking behind them became more and more intense. A terrifying light rushed out from the cave. Kill! Behind them, they heard the sound of fighting. From a distance, they saw what seemed to be a burly figure riding a strange beast and rushing out of the cave. A three-eyed god rushed out and stepped into the primordial realm. They didn't dare to stop and flew at full speed. The Heavenly Emperor Mountain was quite a distance away from the Yuan Mountain Sacred Institute. They arrived at the Yuan Mountain Sacred Institute after 10 minutes. Currently, no one knew how the battle at the original Heavenly Emperor Mountain had developed. Lu Ming and the rest returned to their residence after returning to the Yuan Mountain Sacred Institute. At this moment, there were already many people gathered at the residence. Lu Xiangxiang, Xuaningxin, and the others were all there. This time, only the strongest cultivators entered the Lotus World. Those below the Absolute Saint realm didn't enter. They all stayed in the Yuan Mountain Saint Academy, such as Lu Xiangxiang. Master, what happened? Lu Xiangxiang asked. Everyone here could feel what was happening at the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. It was because that kind of vibration was too strong. There is an invasion from a foreign race. Now is not the time to talk. Gather everyone, and leave Heavenly Emperor City first. Quick. Lu Ming instructed. Some of them should still be in seclusion in some cultivation places. They immediately went their separate ways to gather the other members of the Dragon Alliance. Some people were in their cultivation places and couldn't be contacted, so they had to ask the teachers of the Sacred Institute to help them pass the message. Half an hour later, most of the people from the Dragon League had arrived. With the invasion of the foreign tribes, there will probably be a great war in Heaven Emperor City. We have to leave Heaven Emperor City. Anyone who wants to go to Ancient Moon Sanctuary with me can go together. If you are not willing, you can leave together and return to your respective forces. Lu Ming said. I'd better return to the sect. Me too. Let's return to the family first. Many people said. Lu Ming nodded his head. These geniuses all had their own forces. In the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, they were members of the Dragon Alliance. However, after leaving the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, they naturally had to return to their respective sections. Naturally, Lu Ming would not force them. In the Yuan Mountain Sacred Institute, they belonged to the Dragon Alliance. They might be of use in the future. Then let's go, Lu Ming said. Immediately, they flew out of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. Kill them all. As soon as they arrived outside the Yuan Mountain Sacred Institute, they heard a tide-like battle cry. A group of three-eyed gods were riding mutant beasts and fighting against a group of humans. The battle was extremely brutal. Then, they looked into the distance and found that all the places in the Heavenly Emperor City were in the middle of a war. Boom, boom, boom. In the depths of the Heavenly Emperor City, in the direction of the Heavenly Emperor Mountain, the void space trembled. Another group of three-eyed gods rode on strange beasts and charged over. The strange beasts stepped in the air, and the sky shook violently. The three-eyed god race had already charged out. The leader of the three-eyed god race was riding on a huge, ferocious beast. He was wearing heavy armor and holding a battle axe. His three eyes were as sharp as swords as he swept his gaze over Lu Ming and the others. Charge! Kill them! Boom! 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 This group of three-eyed gods was riding on their beasts and charging toward them. The strongest one is an emperor-to-be. Let's charge! Lu Ming shouted, and took the lead in charging forward. Die! Die! The three-eyed god in the lead swung his battle axe down at Lu Ming. At the same time, a destructive light burst forth from his third eye. Prison suppression! Lu Ming waved his hand, and the 9 shadows of the prison-suppressing steels appeared, pressing forward. The prison guarding steel, it's the prison guarding steel. The leader of the three-eyed god race roared in fear. Boom. And in BSB the prison-suppressing steel's attack and defense were both completely vanquished, and the other three-eyed god race members were also killed. At the same time, Huang Ling, Long Chen and the others also attacked, and killed a group of three-eyed gods. They broke out of the encirclement, and rushed out of the Heavenly Emperor City. Someone has the power of the prison guarding steel. We can't let him go. We must kill him. Roars could be heard from the distance as groups of three-eyed god race experts charged toward them on their beasts. Lu Ming and the group increased their speed and rushed outside. It has the power of the prison-suppressing steel. Kill. A loud roar came from the sky. A huge battle axe was swung down at Lu Ming. The vast emperor's throne was terrifying. A marshal supreme, an emperor-level expert had made a move on Lu Ming, wanting to kill him. However, at this moment, a huge metal rod swept out and collided with the battle axe. A terrifying boom erupted. The terrifying sound waves shook Lu Ming and the others, causing their eardrums to hurt. A burly figure with an iron rod in his hand appeared above Lu Ming and the rest. Its teacher. Lu Ming and the rest were overjoyed. This was a teacher of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. Run! Well, stop there, Marshal Supreme. The voice of a teacher from the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy rang out. After that, a few more figures appeared, exuding a vast aura. They were all teachers of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, and they were all Marshal Supreme Realm experts. Let's go. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to everyone, and they continued to rush out. Stay! Kill him! A few more powerful three-eyed gods roared and charged toward Lu Ming and the others. They were all martial supreme powerhouses. You're a great emperor, yet you're going against a few juniors. You evil race beings are really shameless. We are your opponents. The teachers of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy also made their moves, blocking the other party's emperor-level experts. As for Lu Ming and the rest, they were constantly charging outwards. And NBSB several groups of three-eyed god race cavalry charged at them, but they were all defeated. The Heavenly Emperor City had already been completely engulfed in the flames of war. Countless three-eyed gods had rushed out from the vortex, and the sounds of killing could be heard everywhere. When Lu Ming and the group passed by the Hung family's territory, they discovered that the Hung family was also in a war. In the sky above the Hung family, there were even true emperors fighting. The scene was shocking. At this moment, Lu Ming had already kept his third bloodline. Also, he had learned his lesson and did not dare to use the power of the prison-suppressing steel so easily in case he was targeted. Chapter 1985. Chapter 1985. Chapter 1985. Returning to the Dian Elixir Palace. Chapter 1985. Chapter 1985. Returning to the Dian Elixir Palace. Chaos. Complete chaos. The Heavenly Emperor City was in chaos. Without any emperor-ranked powerhouses, their speed was extremely fast. Not long after, they finally arrived at the edge of Heavenly Emperor City. They rushed out of Arichi City walls and rushed towards a satellite city in the distance. Not long after, they successfully arrived at a satellite city. Boom! Boom! Even though they were far away, they could still hear the violent rumbles coming from the Heavenly Emperor City. From the Heavenly Emperor City, there were figures rushing out in all directions. Lu Ming and the rest did not stop and went to the teleportation array. However, most of them did not follow Lu Ming and the rest. Instead, they returned to their respective sections. Lu Ming, one need to return to the Xinyuan Empire first. The invasion of the foreign tribes is no small matter. The Xinyuan Empire must make early preparations. 11 he said. Ouyang Wushuang told Lu Ming. Alright, let's go our separate ways. We'll meet again if we have the chance, but you must stay alive. Lu Ming's eyes were bright as he looked at the crowd. Definitely. Everyone must stay alive. Take care, Alliance Master. Everyone bade farewell to Lu Ming and stepped into the teleportation array. In the end, only the people from the ancient Moon Holy Land, Luo Xiang, Huangli, and the others were left. Let's go. They also stepped into the teleportation array and teleported to the teleportation area outside ancient Moon Holy Land, then flew towards ancient Moon Holy Land. After flying to ancient Moon Sanctuary, Feng Ling, Long Chun, Luo Tianyi, Yi Dongfang and the others all left and returned to their respective sections. Right now, the various factions of the ancient Moon Holy Land had probably not received the news. They had to return as soon as possible to report and make early preparations. Finally, Lu Ming brought Xiangxiang Bella, Xuaningxin, the 9 elites of the desolate race, and Luo Xiang back to the Great Yin Elixir Hall. After returning to the Great Yin Elixir Palace and settling everyone down, Lu Ming looked for Uncle Kong and told him about the three-eyed god race's invasion in the Heavenly Emperor City. The evil god tribe has invaded earlier than expected. Uncle Kong sighed with a serious expression. The evil god clan? Uncle Kong, what are these three-eyed monsters? Lu Ming asked. Uncle Kong's cultivation level was unfathomable, and he had lived for an unknown amount of time. He might know many secrets. They come from another world and call themselves the three-eyed god race. However, that's just an exaggeration. We call them the evil god race. In the distant past, they attacked the heaven realm. For such a long time, most of the territories of the heaven realm were occupied. Now they have always wanted to open the space barrier and invade the primordial realm. Uncle Kong said with a serious expression. He didn't seem to want to say more. Lu Ming, your mission now is to cultivate in peace and raise your cultivation. You can't interfere in such a big battle. Lu Ming nodded. Even the heaven realm and the Hunyuan sect could not stop them. What could he use to stop them? That's right, Uncle Kong. Can you help me save a person? Lu Ming said. He then released Qiuyu from the mountain and river diagram. Until now, Qiuyu was still unconscious. Uncle Kong's cultivation was profound, and he was also the guardian of the Dian Elixir Palace. He was proficient in alchemy, so there might be a way to save her. Uncle Kong stepped forward and waved his hand. A wave of energy enveloped Qiuyu. After a while, Uncle Kong retracted the energy and frowned. Lu Ming's heart sank and he quickly asked, Uncle Kong, how are Qiuyu's injuries? What an overbearing technique. She must have been hit by the law of deprivation. Uncle Kong said. That's right. The person who attacked has mastered the law of deprivation. Lu Ming said. No wonder. The injuries on her body have basically healed, but her soul has been seriously injured. Uncle Kong muttered. His soul is injured. Lu Ming was shocked. Injuries to the soul were the most difficult to heal. That's right. This girl's soul has been attacked by Arichi law of deprivation. She's severely injured, which is why she hasn't woken up yet. If she wants to wake up, she must condense her soul. Otherwise she'll never wake up. Uncle Kong said. What? Lu Ming's heart trembled. Fai could not help but clench his fists. It was possible that she would never wake up again. At this moment, Lu Ming's killing intent towards Luo Tsangchong was extremely strong. Lu Ming took a deep breath and calmed himself down. Uncle Kong, is there any way to help Qiuyu's soul condense? Uncle Kong frowned as he pondered. After a long rhyme, he said, Now, the only way is to put this girl into the Dian Elixir furnace and use the elixir fire to nurture her physical body. After a certain period of time, one will also need to add sacred medicine. This way, not only will it maintain the vitality of her physical body, but it will also prevent the remnants of her soul from dissipating. It can even slowly condense her soul. But this method can only treat Arichi symptoms, but not the root of the problem. If we want to completely wake him up, we still need other methods. Uncle Kong said. Alright, 111 do IR immediately. Lu Ming took out the Dian Elixir furnace and put Qiuyu in it. He controlled the elixir fire in the furnace and enveloped Qiuyu's body. Then, Lu Ming added some sacred medicine. The medicinal effect of the sacred medicine seeped into Qiuyu's body under Arichi effect of the elixir fire. Uncle Kong, do you know of any other methods that can completely wake Qiuyu up? Lu Ming continued to ask. Uncle Kong shook his head and said, I've been in seclusion for many years, so I don't know much. However, you can go to Vientiane Rower and ask around. Perhaps you can find a way. This girl is in the Great Yin Pill Furnace, so she will be fine for hundreds of years. Don't worry. Wanxiang Tower. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. It was a pity that the Heavenly Emperor City was in chaos now. There was no way to ask for the time being. Fortunately, Qiuyu was fine for the time being. He could only slowly find a way in the future. After chatting with Uncle Kong for a while more, Lu Ming left. Then, he brought Xiangxiang and called Ouyang Moli over to introduce him to them. Senior sister. Ouyang Moli bowed to Lu Xiangxiang. In fact, Lu Xiangxiang was 2 years younger than Ouyang Moli. However, she put her hands behind her back and looked curious. She blinked her big eyes and sized Ouyang Moli up. She said in a mature tone, Your second junior brother? Your cultivation level isn't good enough, so you have to work harder. Yes, senior sister. Ouyang Moli nodded. N. Lu Xiangxiang still had the appearance of an old woman. She nodded slightly, her eyes full of excitement. She felt that the feeling of being Arichi's eldest senior sister was not bad. Lu Ming found it funny. This girl was really putting on the demeanor of a senior sister. Xiangxiang, Don't be too proud. Your second junior brother has only cultivated for 2 years and is about to break through to the saint realm. If you don't work hard, he might catch up to you. Lu Ming said with a serious look. Less than 2 years? So fast. Lu Xiangxiang blinked her big eyes. This speed was even faster than her. Ouyang Moli had the reincarnation body, and had even obtained the world core of the reincarnation emperor. His cultivation speed was shockingly fast, even faster than Lu Xiangxiang. Coupled with the guidance of Uncle Kong, his foundation was extremely solid. He had already reached the peak of the half-saint realm, and was about to break through to the saint realm. This kind of cultivation speed was too shocking. It made him feel ashamed as a master. However, Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli were the true children of God, unlike Lu Ming, who had cultivated himself to this level. He was naturally gifted, and it was normal for him to cultivate quickly in the early stages. Towards the end, it would slowly slow down. For example, Heng Xinghe had been stuck in Arichi Great Circle of the Absolute Saint stage for a year or two, and had not broken through to the Emperor-to-be realm. There are many heaven-s favorites in the world, don't be too proud. Lu Ming warned seriously. Yes, master. Xiangxiang Bella and Ouyang Moli nodded. Chapter 1986. Seeing Celestial Emperor's corporeal body again. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1986. Seeing Celestial Emperor's corporeal body again. In the following days, everyone cultivated in the Dian Elixir Hall. Lu Ming would often go to the Phoenix Palace and the Divine Elephant Sect to find Long Chun and the Phoenix Spirit for information. The invasion of the foreign races shook the entire Yuan Mountain. All the powerful forces of the ancient Moon Holy Land were alarmed and started to gather the experts scattered all over the place to wait. As time passed, news of the invasion of the foreign races kept coming. The Heavenly Emperor City had been completely occupied. The overlords of the Heavenly Emperor City, the Hung clan and the He clan, had escaped from the Heavenly Emperor City with their entire clan and disappeared without a trace. Countless martial artists had died in the battle. The Heavenly Emperor City had suffered heavy losses. After the foreign tribes occupied Heavenly Emperor City, a few days later, the foreign tribes began to send their army to all directions of Heavenly Emperor City. Wherever they passed, not even a chicken or a dog would be left. One by one, the emperor-ranked forces were attacked by the foreign races. From martial sovereigns to women and children, who did not know martial arts, they were all killed. Everywhere it passed, blood flowed like a river, and hundreds of millions of corpses were buried. Everyone's expression changed. The methods of the foreign race were too ruthless. This was simply a massacre. Around the Heavenly Emperor City, all the emperor-ranked powerhouses had withdrawn and retreated to the 8 sacred lands. Among the 9 sacred grounds of the Yuan Mountain, the Heavenly Emperor City was in the center. The other sacred grounds surrounded the Heavenly Emperor City. During this period of time, many emperor-ranked forces had entered ancient Moon Holy Land. As for the outsiders, they had sent out their armies to attack in all directions. They were already approaching the other sacred lands. 2 months after the battle at Heaven Emperor City, outside the ancient Moon Holy Land, the first foreign tribe army appeared. When they attacked the ancient Moon Holy Land, they were defeated by the strong practitioners of the ancient Moon Holy Land. Facing this unprecedented pressure, all the powerful forces of the ancient Moon Holy Land temporarily put aside their grudges and formed an alliance. The Wind race had gathered all the forces together and built a huge base. All the forces and experts had gathered to resist the alien race. The number of clashes between Guyu Holy Land and the other races increased. It's chaos. Lu Ming stood at the peak of the Dian Elixir Palace and looked into the distance as he muttered. At that moment, a ray of light flashed in the distance. The speed was so fast that Lu Ming had only just reacted when the light appeared in front of him. When Lu Ming saw the true appearance of the ray of light, he could not help but be shocked. A 1-meter-tall stone man and a stone sword. Isn't this the Celestial Emperor's sword? Also, that was the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body. Although it was countless times smaller than when he first saw it, Lu Ming could still recognize it at a glance. It was the Celestial Thearch's physical body. In the last battle, the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body wielded the stone sword and killed 2 great emperor powerhouses in a row with unparalleled divine power. After that, Lu Ming and the rest returned to ancient Moon Sanctuary. There was no more Celestial Emperor's body or news of the great emperors. At this moment, the Celestial Thearch's physical body and the Celestial Thearch's sword had arrived. From the looks of it, they were coming for Lu Ming. Buzz, buzz. The Celestial Thearch's physical body and the Celestial Thearch's sword moved and flew directly into Lu Ming's glabella, suspended in his sea of consciousness. Lu Ming was somewhat dumbfounded. At that moment, a white light flashed in front of Lu Ming, and a figure floated out. It was the Celestial Thearch, Senior Celestial Thearch, Lu Ming from the junior generation. Lu Ming was shocked and quickly bowed. No need to be so polite. Just a wisp of mark. The Celestial Thearch's figure smiled. Senior Heavenly Emperor, why are you here? Lu Ming asked the question in his heart. Back then, wasn't the Celestial Thearch's corporeal body controlled by the Star River? Why was it flying into his consciousness with the Celestial Emperor's sword? Hung Xinghe is too selfish. He only cares about himself and not others. So he has no right to control Celestial Emperor's corporeal body. You, on the other hand, have a good character, are decisive, and are extremely talented. Most importantly, you have something you want to protect. Moreover, you were able to pull out the combat sword that one left behind years ago. This is enough to prove that you are qualified to control the item that one left behind. The Heavenly Emperor's figure nodded. Lu Ming could not help but touch his nose. He was not as good as what the Celestial Thearch had said. He was just not that selfish. Senior Heavenly Emperor, is the Hung family really your descendants? Lu Ming asked. The Celestial Thearch pondered for a moment, as if reminiscing about the past. I'm not a human. One attained Tao as a stone golem. When I first attained Tao, one gave birth to a descendant with a human woman. That descendant was the Hung family. Speaking of which, the Hung family is indeed my descendant. However, countless years have passed, and these juniors seem to be becoming more and more useless. If you have a grudge against the Hung family, you don't have to worry about me. Senior Heavenly Emperor, it's actually Rockmen achieving Tao. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. No wonder the Celestial Thearch's physical body was a stone golem, and his sword was also made of stone. Senior, you have such a strong cultivation, how did you? Lu Ming was very curious. He wanted to know what the Celestial Thearch had experienced back then. With the Eternal Universe Heavenly Emperor's cultivation base, how had he fallen? You want to ask me why one died, right? Speaking of which, one didn't die. The Celestial Thearch's figure smiled. He didn't die. Lu Ming was overjoyed, but he was immediately filled with doubts. The Celestial Thearch had not fallen. How could he have left behind a physical body and a trace of his mark? I have to start from the evil god tribe, the figure of the Heavenly Emperor said. Immediately, the figure of the Heavenly Emperor began to tell Lu Ming in detail. In ancient times, the foreign races invaded the Heaven Realm and fought with the powerful beings of the Heaven Realm. At that time, heaven and earth had been pierced through, connecting to the primordial realm. There were many Heaven Realm ruins that fell into the primordial realm, and some strong practitioners from the Heaven Realm entered the primordial realm. Of course, there were also some strong practitioners from other races who had entered the primordial realm. However, only a small number of foreign powerhouses entered the primordial realm. Later on, these alien experts hid in the primordial realm. There were even strange and terrifying races that possessed human bodies and established their own forces. Forces like the Demon Spirit Religion and Evil Spirit Religion specialized in hunting down human elites and powerhouses. Lu Ming finally knew the origin of the Evil Spirit cult. It was created by an alien race. No wonder many of the evil spirit cultivators were afraid of his prison-suppressing steel, just like the three-eyed god. A long time ago, the alien races found a weak point in space and wanted to open a passage to let the evil god race in. However, they were discovered by the Hung Yu Heavenly Emperor. In order to stop these alien races, a war broke out between the two sides. However, There was a terrifying expert among the foreign races who was good at attacking the soul. He was also a heavenly emperor, and he even tore the soul of the eternal universe, heavenly emperor, apart. Although the eternal universe heavenly emperor had managed to kill his opponent in the end, his soul was on the verge of collapse. In the end, the eternal universe heavenly emperor used his remaining power to seal the 8 emperors into a small world. He used the power of the small world and his own physical strength to suppress the passage. Lu Ming finally understood the origin of the Lotus world. However, although my soul was scattered back then, and only a wisp of my soul remained, when I was about to die, one had a great enlightenment and broke through to another level. Instead, one formed a new physical body and came back to life. So, I can be considered someone who has died once. Finally, the heavenly emperor's figure said. Chapter 1987. The Secret of the Heaven Realm. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1987. The Secret of the Heaven Realm. He's reformed his body and revived. Lu Ming was extremely shocked. One could imagine the unparalleled charm of the Hung Yu heavenly emperor back then. He blocked many foreign overlords by himself and killed the heavenly emperor. He also used the power of his small world to suppress the space passage and stop the invaders. The last remaining soul was resurrected and rose to a higher level. If this was written into a book, it would be a legend. However, Lu Ming had his doubts. Since the celestial Varch was not dead, where was he now? Why did he only leave behind a trace of his mark and not appear in the previous battle? The figure of the celestial Varch seemed to have noticed Lu Ming's confusion and explained, "The primordial realm hasn't reached the time for a real war yet. The war in the heaven realm has already reached a critical juncture. There are 9 heaven domains in the heaven realm, but the other 8 heaven domains don't have a passage to the primordial realm. Only the last heaven domain, the Tai Ching heaven domain, has a passage to the primordial realm. Now the remaining strong cultivators of the heaven realm are guarding the Tai Ching heaven region. The evil god tribe has always wanted to occupy the Tai Ching heaven region and then invade the primordial realm using the passageway there. I'm now fighting in the heaven realm." Lu Ming was somewhat dumbfounded. He had learned many secrets today. "My body is made of stone. It's like a puppet now. I'll give it to you. I hope it can help you." The heavenly emperor's figure continued. "Many thanks, senior." Lu Ming was overjoyed. The celestial thearch's corporeal body had endless power. He had seen it before. It could even kill great sovereigns. If he could control it, he would immediately become an unparalleled expert. He could destroy the Golden Crow race and the Wan family. Don't get too excited just yet. If you want to control this stone body, you'll need energy. I've used up all of that energy in the battle with the outsiders, and now, the mark is about to disappear. Therefore, in order to control this stone body, I have to let the stone body absorb energy continuously. The more energy it absorbs, the more powerful it will be. This stone body is like a puppet. Without a trace of energy, it can't be controlled and can't exert much power. The celestial thearch's words were like a bucket of cold water poured on Lu Ming's head. It seemed that he had been happy for nothing. However, Lu Ming was immediately excited. This was the celestial thearch's body. If it absorbed enough energy, it would be able to unleash terrifying power. 111 now teach you how to control this stone body and how to absorb energy. The celestial Varch walked past and pointed a finger between Lu Ming's eyebrows. Some information immediately appeared in Lu Ming's mind. Alright, this mark of mine has completed its mission. It's time to dissipate. Little guy, one look forward to the day you grow up. The celestial emperor's corporeal body smiled. Senior. Lu Ming felt a little sad. Haha, no need to feel sad for me. I'm not dead. Everything that happened here can be sensed by my main body in the heavenly realm. One hope we can meet in the heavenly realm and fight side by side. The celestial emperor's mark smiled, and then disappeared like a wisp of green smoke. Senior, I believe that it won't be long before we meet again. There was a look of determination in Lu Ming's eyes. He then sat cross-legged and carefully studied the method of controlling the stone body and the method of absorbing energy that the celestial Varch had taught him. 2 hours later, Lu Ming had fully comprehended it. He circulated his cultivation technique and sensed carefully. He discovered that whether it was Celestial Emperor's corporeal body or Celestial Emperor's sword, they were like the bottom of a dried lake. There was no energy at all, and he could not control them. Let's try to absorb the rough stone. Lu Ming waved his hand and took out 100,000 superior-grade raw stones. He activated them according to the method taught by the Celestial Arch. Buzz! The Celestial Emperor's sword flew to the back of the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body, and the two fused together, as if they were one. Bang! 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 100,000 raw gemstones exploded instantly, turning into rolling energy that was absorbed by Celestial Emperor's corporeal body and Celestial Emperor's sword. A moment later, the energy of the 100,000 raw gemstones was completely absorbed. Lu Ming quickly sensed it, and his face immediately turned bitter. He realized that not even 1% of the energy in the 100,000 raw gemstones had been filled. Not even 1,000th of its energy was fully replenished. How much energy would he need to replenish it? Lu Ming was speechless. In the end, he gritted his teeth and took out 1,000,000 high-grade raw gemstones. He let his heaven, earth, and physical body absorb them. What made Lu Ming cry in grief was that the energy of 1,000,000 high-grade raw gemstones was still not even 1% of the energy. Sigh, I'd better absorb the energy slowly. I can't eat hot tofu if I'm impatient. Lu Ming sighed. He kept the Celestial Thearch's body into the mountain and river diagram, allowing it to absorb the energy between heaven and earth on its own. Right now, Lu Ming felt that he was especially in need of resources. Qiuyu needed to refine Saint Herbs frequently, while Celestial Emperor's body needed a huge amount of energy. Fortunately, the Celestial Thearch's corporeal body could absorb any kind of energy, not just from raw gemstones. Lu Ming closed his eyes and cultivated quietly. Lu Ming felt a sense of urgency after hearing the Celestial Thearch's words. The heaven realm seemed to be completely outmatched and could only defend the last heaven domain, Tai Ching Heaven, to stop the alien races. If the alien races broke into the Tai Ching Heavenly region, they could use the Void Passage and a large army to rush into the primordial realm. The passageway in the Heavenly Emperor City was only a small one. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 days had passed. These days, more and more alien races came to attack ancient Moon Holy Land. The pressure on Guyu Holy Land's forces was getting bigger and bigger. Finally, in order to boost morale, many sects joined forces, gathered resources, and created a merit point. As long as they killed the alien races, they would be able to get merit points. Killing a Martial Royal Realm alien would earn him 1 merit point. A lower-tier Bright Saint alien would earn him 5 merit points, and a higher-tier Bright Saint alien would earn him 10 merit points. And so on. As one's cultivation level increased, the merit points would double. These merit points could be used to exchange for various treasures, such as Saint Herbs, Saint Weapons, Monarch Weapons, Oriox, and so on. This way, the killing intent of the ancient Moon Holy Land rose. All the powerful forces, as well as the Emperor-level forces from the outside world, all went out to hunt the alien races. Lu Ming decided to bring everyone out to hunt the alien races. Firstly, they could train themselves in a life-and-death battle, stimulate their potential, and improve their cultivation. Secondly, it could be exchanged for resources, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Palace Master, you guys can go. Take this Jade Talisman. If you encounter a martial emperor, you can crush it, and the Jade Talisman will bring you back to the Dian Elixir Palace. Uncle Kong handed Lu Ming a Jade Talisman. Lu Ming accepted it happily. In this way, he would have fewer concerns. If he encountered the other party's emperor-level experts, he could escape. Following that, Lu Ming brought along Huang Li and the other 9 elites of the Desolate race, as well as Luo Xiang and Lu Xiangxiang. As Ouyang Moli's cultivation level was still low, he was not invited. They flew towards the west of the ancient Moon Sanctuary and met up with Feng Ling, Long Chun, Luo Tianyi, and the others at the foot of a mountain. Lu Ming, this is the base that the ancient Moon Holy Land's many forces built together. Huang Ling smiled and led Lu Ming and the rest towards the mountain. Chapter 1988. Chapter 1988 Hunting Foreign Races. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1988. Chapter 1988 Hunting Foreign Races. The mountain was extremely vast, and there were many grand palaces built on it. This mountain didn't exist here before. It had been forcefully pulled up from the ground by the almighties of various forces some time ago. It was 100,000 feet tall and 10,000 miles wide. Each force had a huge palace built on it, and each force had sent a large number of experts to live there. This way, the forces of the various forces could quickly gather and effectively deal with the attacks of the foreign tribes. They could also effectively counterattack. After all, ancient Moon Holy Land was huge, with at least 20 strong forces scattered all over the place. It would be too difficult to gather the forces of all the major forces at the last minute. It would take time. In that case, the foreign races would probably break through one by one. With a common base, many forces and experts would gather, and it would be more effective to dispatch them. Huang Ling and the rest brought Lu Ming and the rest around. Phoenix Palace, Divine Elephant Sect, and others all cultivated in huge palaces here. At the peak of the mountain, there was a huge and magnificent palace. It was the place where merit points were exchanged for resources. It was built by many forces. Right now, the strongest force in Guyu Holy Land is the Wind Clan of the Gu family. It is currently being led by the Wind Clan, with the other forces assisting. Huang Ling explained. Lu Ming nodded. Let's go and hunt the alien races. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a cold glint. Then, everyone flew out of the ancient Moon Holy Land. Soon, they flew out of the outer area of the ancient Moon Holy Land and into the wilderness. Buzz! Buzz! In the sky above them, a figure flashed by at an astonishing speed. That was an Emperor-level expert. The other races' Emperor-level experts would naturally be dealt with by the ancient Moon Holy Land's Emperor-level experts. The ones they hunted were those below Emperor level. Boom! 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 After flying for some distance, they heard a violent explosion ahead. Kill! Kill! Intense battle cries came like a tide. In front of them, large groups of alien races rode on alien beasts and stepped on the void, fighting with human martial artists. It was extremely tragic. At a glance, one could see countless figures. In the sky, a terrifying light burst forth, and a terrifying pressure spread down like a mountain. High up in the sky was the battlefield of great emperors. Boom! 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 As soon as Lu Ming and his group arrived, the alien races had their eyes on them. The main reason was that Lu Ming and his group were too young and eye-catching. The leader of the cavalry was an emperor-to-be. Leave the emperor-to-be to me. You guys be careful, Lu Ming instructed. He flew forward and a long spear appeared in his hands. This long spear was obtained from Luo Pokong. It was a monarch weapon. Whoosh! The long spear pierced through the air and instantly crossed the void. It broke through the destructive light shot out from the opponent's third eye and pierced through the opponent's head. An emperor-to-be was killed in an instant. Given Lu Ming's current combat strength, he could kill an ordinary emperor-to-be in seconds. Meanwhile, Huang Ling, Long Chun, and Xiangxiang Bella were also fighting with the others. Lu Ming waved his hand, and the spear trembled. The third eye flew out, and was kept in Lu Ming's storage ring. The third eye of the alien race was a wonderful material for blacksmithing, and the proof of merit points exchange was the third eye of the alien race. As soon as the emperor-to-be leading them died, this group of alien races was no match for Lu Ming and the others. They were all killed in an instant. Kill them! In the distance, there were even more alien races charging toward Lu Ming and the others. Their iron hooves stomped in the air with shocking power. There were at least a few hundred alien races, and 7 or 8 of them were at the emperor-to-be realm. So many experts charged at Lu Ming and the others. Before they could reach them, beams of destructive light were already shooting toward them. The destructive light was not only aimed at Lu Ming, but also at Desolate Power, Xiangxiang Bella, and the rest. Spatial barrier, chirp chirp. Bubbles stepped in the air and pressed down with her tiny hands. The air around them rippled like water, forming barriers. When the destructive light hit the spatial barrier, it was like a stone sinking into the sea. No one knew where it went. Kill! Lu Ming took the lead and rushed forward. He shook his emperor-level long spear, and spearlight enveloped 5 or 6 emperor-to-be cultivators. The weapons used by the three-eyed god race were similar to the desolate race. They were all heavy weapons, either a battle axe or a sledgehammer. When they were swung, they struck at Lu Ming, blocking Lu Ming's spear radiance. However, the next moment, transparent bubbles suddenly appeared on their bodies and enveloped them. Then, Lu Ming thrust his long spear and killed the emperor-to-be one by one. When Lu Ming and Bubbles joined forces, an ordinary emperor-to-be would only be courting death. In the blink of an eye, for emperor-to-be had been killed by 2 people. You're looking for death. A burly emperor-to-be broke free from the bubble. A beam of light shot out from his third eye and rushed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's spear shook and swept toward the beam of light. Boom! The long spear vibrated, and Lu Ming could not help but feel his arm go numb. Kill! The emperor-to-be charged at Lu Ming with a battle axe in his hand. You're quite strong. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This three-eyed god was much stronger than the other emperor-to-be, and was on par with the human emperor-to-be, with a superior grade heaven spiritual body. Leave the emperor-to-be to me and Bubble. You guys deal with the others. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Lu Xiangxiang and the rest. Then, she wielded her spear and fought with the strongest emperor-to-be, while Bubbles attacked the other emperors-to-be. Lu Xiangxiang, Huang Ling Longchen, and the others attacked those below emperor-to-be. Many people had gained something from their trip to the Lotus World. Long Chen and Huang Ling's cultivation had reached the pinnacle of the Absolute Saint Realm. Huang Li had also reached the pinnacle of the Absolute Saint Realm. Luo Tianyi had even broken through to the perfected Absolute Saint Realm. Luo Xiang's cultivation was the same as Lu Ming's. They were at the peak of the Absolute Saint Realm. With their strength, they could easily deal with the three-eyed gods who weren't emperor-to-be, and a large number of them were instantly killed. Lu Xiangxiang was surrounded by a green mist, and with a shout, a giant ancient tree was formed. It was like an ancient tree that supported the sky and pressed down on an absolute saint lower-tier three-eyed god. Boom! The three-eyed god was killed by the ancient greenwood tree, not even leaving behind a corpse. Xiangxiang Bella's current cultivation was only at the peak of the Supreme Saint Realm, but she could already kill an absolute saint. The combat strength of the Son of Heaven was indeed shocking. At this moment, Lu Ming had already exchanged a few moves with the emperor-to-be. I can't unleash much of its power with just the monarch weapon. I'll use the 10,000 soldier scroll to melt the monarch weapon into my meridians. Lu Ming changed his mind. He put away his sovereign weapon and switched to the finger of calamity of chaos. Whoosh! He pointed his finger at his opponent's battle axe, causing his opponent's body to shake violently. He couldn't help but retreat, and the battle axe in his hand was sent flying. Following that, Lu Ming pointed with his finger. The force of this finger was highly condensed, forming a tiny finger force that shot toward the other party. The other party seemed to sense danger. A layer of black light covered his body, and he threw his fists at Lu Ming. However, the finger force pierced through the fist and went through the head of the man. Chapter 1989. Feng Wuchen's difficulties. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1989. Feng Wuchen's difficulties. After killing the other party, Lu Ming rushed over and took away the other party's third eye. He then helped Bubbles kill the other emperor-to-be. As a result, those below the emperor-to-be realm were no match for them, and were killed in large numbers. And MBSB, it didn't take long for the three-eyed god race to be completely wiped out. After that, they charged in other directions. This battlefield was extremely vast, and the sky was filled with the figures of cultivators and three-eyed gods. Lu Ming and the others gathered together and charged into the battlefield like a sharp knife, hunting down the three-eyed god race. With Lu Ming and Bubbles' combat strength, they were almost invincible against anyone below the martial supreme realm. When they joined forces, they fought and killed the three-eyed god race members one after another. And MBSB, after fighting for several hours, the intense beating of war drums could be heard from the distant sky, and the three-eyed god race retreated. As for the Guyu Holy Land experts, they also retreated back to the city. Lu Ming and the rest did not go to the base to exchange their merit points immediately. They did not have enough gains. They wanted to wait until they had accumulated more before exchanging all of them. And NBSB as expected, on the second day, the three-eyed god race's army attacked again, and the ancient moon sacred lands experts also charged out. In the vast and empty Berserk Mountain, the battle continued. This was a war between two different races. No one would show mercy. On the ground, there were mountains of corpses and seas of blood. There were humans, monsters, and even three-eyed gods. After a while, the three-eyed god race seemed to feel that they couldn't win and retreated. However, they would come again the next day. After fighting for more than 10 days, Lu Ming and the rest gained a lot. When the three-eyed gods retreated again, Lu Ming and the rest returned to the base and went to the highest point to exchange for some treasures. Lu Ming mainly wanted to exchange for sacred medicine and raw gemstones. All of you, bring out the third eye of the three-eyed god race. A group of old men stood on a huge counter. These people were all powerhouses from the major forces. Those resources were provided by the major forces. Each force would naturally send an expert to supervise. Lu Ming and the rest took out their storage rings. Then, a huge pile of the three-eyed god race's third eye appeared. It was piled up like a mountain, like a small hill, which stunned many people. The three-eyed god race's third eye was like a gem sparkling and dazzling. It was extremely beautiful and contained a mysterious power. It could be used to forge weapons, and it was a pretty good material. There are so many of them. Many of them are at the absolute saint realm, and even emperor-to-be realm. Terrifying. Lu Ming, the son of chaos. The combat strength of these people is too terrifying. Indeed, I've seen them fight. An emperor-to-be was almost killed in seconds. No one can do it except for a martial emperor. And NBSB many people in the surroundings turned to look at the three-eyed god's eyes with fervent gazes. One of them, a white-haired old man, did a quick count. These eyeballs of the three-eyed god race could be exchanged for a total of 1,000,000 merit points. How shocking was this? What treasures do you want to exchange for? The white-haired old man asked. Wait a moment. At this moment a cold voice was heard. Then a few figures walked out of the hall. The one in the lead was a young man with an elegant demeanor. Feng Wuchen. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. Feng Wuchen swept a cold glance at Lu Ming and the others. His eyes landed on the pile of three-eyed god's eyeballs, and a hint of greed appeared on his face. You guys want to exchange for treasures? Feng Wuchen said. Not bad. Lu Ming answered. I'm afraid that's not possible. You've come too late. During this period, a large number of treasures have been exchanged, and the number of treasures in the treasury has decreased sharply. I can't exchange them for you for the time being, Feng Wuchen said with a cold smile. You don't have enough treasures? Lu Ming's eyes flashed. What a joke. We didn't have enough treasures the moment we arrived. How can the others have enough? Huang Ling sneered. The others have less, but you have more, so it's naturally not enough. If you're willing to give a discount, that's fine too. Feng Wuchen sneered. If you say it's not enough, then it's not enough. You're not in charge of this place, and the other seniors have never said it's not enough. Lu Xiangxiang called out, looking at Feng Wuchen unhappily. Although I've exchanged for many treasures during this period of time, I should have enough left. An expert from the Phoenix Palace said. That's not right. If the rest of the items are exchanged by them, it would be disappointing and demoralizing if the others didn't come. An elder from the Wind Race spoke. The man from the Phoenix Palace's face darkened, and he didn't say anything. This time, Guyu Holy Land was led by the Wind Race, and the Wind Race's strength was undoubtedly the strongest. During this time, the various forces will continue to replenish their treasures. You can come back when you're done. Feng Wuchen smiled faintly. How long will it take to replenish it? Huang Ling asked. A few months, I guess, Feng Wuchen said. Then welcome next time. Lu Ming said. He could not be bothered to waste his breath on the other party. With a wave of his hand, he kept the three-eyed god's eyeball. The eyeballs of the three-eyed god race. Why don't you leave them here first? Well recorded on our account, and we won't give you any less. Feng Wuchen said. No need, I don't trust a despicable person like you. After Lu Ming finished speaking, He turned around and left. The others sneered and turned to leave. Detestable. Feng Wuchen's face darkened. He rolled his eyes as if he was thinking of a scheme. In my opinion, that Feng is targeting us on purpose, and not letting us exchange for it. I really want to beat him up. Desolately said unhappily. There are many forces present. They can't deny it. At most, we'll exchange for it later. Lu Ming said. Those resources and treasures were all gathered by the major forces. They didn't belong to the wind race alone. They couldn't deny it. He would just go there after a while. In the next few days, they continued to battle against the three-eyed god race to temper themselves. Ever since Xiangxiang Bella started cultivating, she had rarely fought with enemies. This was a very good training for her. During this period of time, Xiangxiang Bella's combat experience had increased rapidly. Even her cultivation showed signs of loosening up, and was approaching the great saint perfection. This made others sigh. The cultivation speed of the Child of Heaven was truly shocking. On this day, they set off again and set foot on the battlefield. Lu Ming, I want to be separated from all of you and train on my own, he said. Huang Ling said, I have the same intention. Long Chen also said. Then, Luo Tianyi and Desolate Power expressed the same intention. Although it was safer for everyone to gather together, it was not very effective in training, and there was no sense of life and death crisis. Only by facing a crisis alone could he stimulate his potential and reach a higher level. If you want to cultivate the light of law, you must temper yourself in the midst of life and death. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to cultivate it. Luo Tianyi said. The other people's eyes also revealed a burning light. They were all proud children of heaven. They all had ambitions and wanted to become stronger. Only by cultivating the light of law could one suppress other king physiques. They all had this ambition. Chapter 1990. Chapter 1990 Individual Training. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1990. Chapter 1990 Individual Training. Alright. But it's best if there are two or more of them. At least they can take care of each other. Lu Ming said. Everyone nodded their heads. Following that, Luo Tianyi and Huang Li led the other elites of the desolate race and charged into the distance. Long Chen, Huang Ling, and Luo Xiang formed a group and ran into the distance. Bubble, you'll support from the middle. If any side encounters any danger that they can't handle, rescue them in time. Lu Ming said to Pao Pao. Alright brother Lu Ming, chirp chirp. Bubbles nodded, and her petite figure disappeared without a trace. Lu Ming, on the other hand, led Lu Xiangxiang in a direction. Bang! Not long after, an emperor-to-be three-eyed god was punched to death by Lu Ming. He kept the god's third eye in a black bangle. This bracelet was used by the three-eyed god race to store items, and its function was similar to storage rings. Xiangxiang, I'll leave these two to you. Lu Ming's figure flashed, and he left the two lower-tier absolute saints to Xiangxiang Bella. He would deal with the rest. The battlefield was the best place to temper himself. He was thinking that when Ouyang Ma's cultivation was higher, he would also bring him out to temper himself. Xiangxiang Bella fought two three-eyed god race absolute saints at the lower-tier absolute saint realm alone, and the battle was extremely intense. Not long after, Xiangxiang Bella successfully killed the two three-eyed god race members. Lu Ming nodded his head in satisfaction. Then, he gave Xiangxiang Bella a three-eyed god who was a late-stage absolute saint. The three-eyed god instantly gave Xiangxiang Xiang a fatal pressure. Xiangxiang Bella's shoulder was hit by the other party's destructive light, and a hole appeared. However, Lu Ming had no intention of helping. He had experienced too many life-and-death battles in his life. He knew very well that if he didn't experience any life-and-death battles, he would just be a flower in a greenhouse. It was useless no matter how strong his talent was. Master! Xiangxiang Bella called out delicately, her small face pale. Solve it yourself. As the child of life, do you have to always rely on others? Lu Ming said with a cold expression. He killed an absolute saint in the great circle with one punch. Xiangxiang Bella gritted her teeth. Her entire body was covered in green light as she circulated her life laws. Her injuries from before were instantly healed. The body of life, and the law of life contained endless vitality. It was many times stronger than Huang Ling's law of imperishable flame, and had vigorous vitality. At the same time, countless vines appeared, like long whips sweeping towards the other party. But without a doubt, Xiangxiang Bela was at a disadvantage. She was talented, but she didn't have much combat experience, so she couldn't use all her power. However, during the battle, Xiangxiang Bela seemed to have found the feeling, and was already able to slowly protect herself. Lu Ming nodded. He then hunted alone in the surrounding area. Xiangxiang Bela had been fighting with the other party for a few hundred moves, and had been injured many times. Under the life law, she had recovered very quickly. What monster! The more the three-eyed god fought, the more frightened he became. The other party was completely unkillable, and his own injuries were getting worse and worse. After a few hundred moves, Xiangxiang Bela finally exhausted her opponent to death, and then killed her. Xiangxiang Bela was also heavily injured. However, under the life laws, she was rapidly recovering. Master, I've succeeded. Xiangxiang Bela came to Lu Ming's side. Her eyes were much more determined and sharp than before. Not bad, continue. Let's go, Lu Ming said. Then he gave Xiangxiang Bela another three-eyed god who was an absolute saint in the late stages. Xiangxiang Bela's talent was indeed unparalleled. In a life-and-death battle, she had improved at an astonishing speed. Her display of combat power, her use of the power law, her battle consciousness, and her battle mentality had all undergone a huge change. This time, within 100 moves, Xiangxiang Bela finished off her opponent. Although she was also severely injured, with her constitution, she was not afraid of being injured. Lu Ming nodded, and brought Xiangxiang Bela to continue hunting the three-eyed god race. As for Huang Ling, Long Chen and Desolate Li, they were all going through a tough battle. Their opponents were naturally Emperor to be level. Huang Ling, Long Chen, and Huang Li were all at the peak of the absolute saint realm. They had the power to fight an Emperor to be, but it would be difficult. Luo Tianyi's cultivation level was higher, so she was still in a better position, but she was also in a tough battle. Everyone was engaged in a life-or-death battle in order to break through their limits and achieve a great leap. Whoosh! All of a sudden, a destructive light shot toward Lu Ming. The destructive light cut through the void silently, but Lu Ming's hair stood on end as he felt a fatal threat. Without hesitation, Lu Ming pointed in that direction. The power of the chaotic finger of tribulation gathered in his finger and collided with the destructive light. Boom! Lu Ming felt a surge of terrifying power surging towards him. He could not help but take a few steps back, and his fingers were numb. What powerful strength! Lu Ming narrowed his eyes and looked ahead. And NBSB, a 5-meter-tall three-eyed god riding a strange beast, was approaching, his body exuding a terrifying aura. This three-eyed god wasn't a great emperor, but he was definitely powerful. Kid, I've been watching you for a few days. You've killed many of our men. Today is the day you die. Kill! The burly three-eyed god roared and swung his battle axe. The mutant beast roared and charged toward Lu Ming. Roar! The strange beast roared and spat out a jet-black ray of light from its mouth. It charged at Lu Ming. At the same time, the three-eyed god's battle axe tore through the air and slashed down at Lu Ming. The massive axe seemed to be able to split the sky apart, and its power was terrifying. Holy weapons floated around Lu Ming. There were only 37 of them. Back in the world of the Lotus Flower, during the battle with the Emperor-to-be, most of the saint weapons he had sealed in his meridians had been destroyed. Only a dozen or so absolute saint weapons were left. During this period of time, Lu Ming had recultivated the 10,000 soldiers art. This time, he didn't seal the bright saint weapons or great saint weapons, but all of them into saint weapons. There were a total of 36 of them, and the last one was a monarch weapon. It was the monarch weapon he got from Luo Pokong. Although there were fewer of them than before, their power was many times stronger. Lu Ming held the long spear, and the other 36 absolute saint weapons floated around him. The chi of the combat weapon was integrated and blocked the attack of the beast. At the same time, he lifted his spear and clashed with the battle axe. Clang! And NBSB, a terrifying shockwave exploded out, and the other party roared as he and the beast he was riding were forced back a dozen steps. As for Lu Ming, his body also retreated. What a powerful combat strength. It's equivalent to the king body of the emperor-to-be realm. Lu Ming had a thought in his mind, and his eyes flashed with a strong fighting spirit. His combat strength was equivalent to the emperor-to-be king body. This was the strongest emperor-to-be Lu Ming had ever encountered. Previously, the emperor-to-be he had encountered could not put pressure on him. However, this one was different. It had the ability to threaten Lu Ming's life. This was also the training that Lu Ming wanted. Otherwise, Lu Ming would not be able to train in the big battle. Chapter 1991. A new direction. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 1991. A new direction. Kill. Kill. Lu Ming and the three-eyed god roared as they fought. Lu Ming used the 10,000 soldier art to gather the chi of the combat weapon at the tip of the spear, making the power of the spear extremely shocking. And embark the spear light howled through the air as it clashed with the three-eyed god race. The battle axe in the three-eyed god's hand came crashing down like a storm. At the same time, his third eye would shoot out a destructive light from time to time. Its power was astonishing. The strange beast would also attack Lu Ming, and embark the spear trembled, and hundreds of spear lights shot toward the three-eyed god. At the same time, he pointed out a finger with his left hand. Primal Chaos Tribulation Finger. Whoosh! A terrifying finger force condensed into a thread and pierced out. This finger wasn't aimed at the three-eyed god, but at the beast beneath it. The strange beast's combat strength was equivalent to that of an ordinary emperor-to-be, so it couldn't resist it at all. It was pierced through between its eyebrows and died on the spot, its corpse falling to the ground. Damn it! The three-eyed god bellowed in rage, his killing intent growing even colder as he launched a storm of attacks at Lu Ming. Lu Ming held the spear in his right hand. Dense runes appeared on it. Soon the symbols covered the long spear. Then, the long spear was thrust out, forming a true dragon that whistled out. Lu Ming was using the long spear to cast Rhe illusionary spirit scroll of the 9 scrolls of the array Dao. However, the true dragon was dispersed by the other party's axe. This was within Lu Ming's expectations. The long spear shook and a destructive force burst out. This was the annihilation manual of Rhe 9 scrolls of Rhe array Dao. Lu Ming was using his opponent to train his 9 scrolls of array Dao, striving to merge the sealed scroll, the destruction scroll, and the illusionary spirit scroll together as soon as possible. To be honest, the king physique of the emperor-to-be realm was very powerful, and required Lu Ming to go all out. Lu Ming was undoubtedly at a disadvantage when he used the 9 volumes of the array Dao alone. He was being suppressed by his opponent. However, this was exactly what Lu Ming needed. In the face of adversity, his 9 scrolls of array Dao had progressed at a rapid pace. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of moves had been exchanged. Yes, this is the feeling. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up, and he thrust his spear. Roar! A true dragon flew out and pounced at the other party. This move again break. The three-eyed god roared as he cleaved the true dragon into 2. However, the true dragon immediately exploded and turned into countless runes. They enveloped the other party's battle axe and spread along the battle axe to the other party's entire body, forming a powerful sealing force. That's right. Lu Ming had successfully combined the illusionary spirit scroll and the sealed scroll with that move. 2 of the 9 scrolls of the array Dao were contained in one move. Damn it! The three-eyed god roared as he unleashed his full power. The black light around his body intensified, and the runes dimmed before collapsing. Again, Lu Ming thrust his spear again. Another true dragon flew out and collided with his opponent's battle axe. This time, there was a shocking boom, and his opponent's battle axe buzzed and vibrated. This move was a combination of the illusionary spirit scroll and the annihilation scroll. Its power was greatly increased, and it successfully blocked the opponent's attack. If I combine the 3 volumes, the power will be even stronger. Lu Ming had an idea. At Rhe same time, he kept stabbing with his long spear, but he failed in the end. Fusing 3 volumes was much more difficult than fusing 2. If I can combine the Annihilation Manual with the Primal Chaos Tribulation Finger, wouldn't the power of the Primal Chaos Tribulation Finger increase exponentially? Lu Ming suddenly had an idea, and his eyes lit up. The Primal Chaos Tribulation Finger was already very powerful, but with the Array Dao Law's Destruction Scroll, its power would definitely be even stronger. However, this involved the fusion of two types of nomological laws, which was even more profound. Lu Ming tried a few times, but he did not succeed. However, this was a direction. As long as Lu Ming kept trying, he would eventually succeed. Now I'll finish you off. A murderous glint flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. He kept stabbing with his long spear, using the Illusionary Spirit Scroll and the Sealed Scrolls fusion technique, and MBSB at the same time. He used the Primal Chaos Tribulation Finger with his left hand to attack from both sides. Boom, boom, boom. The two of them exchanged dozens of moves, and Lu Ming finally gained the upper hand. His opponent's body was wrapped in a layer of dense runes, and his strength was affected. Lu Ming pointed his finger, and the chaotic finger of tribulation pierced through the other party's body. Half of the body exploded. The other party roared, turned around and ran. Lu Ming gave chase, but the other party was indeed very strong, and could stand shoulder to shoulder with Lu Ming. He risked his injuries and ran away at top speed, escaping far away. Lu Ming could only give up on the pursuit. The combat strength of an emperor-to-be king body was indeed very powerful. Lu Ming had to use his full strength, and the combination of two types of laws to defeat the other party. However, he still could not kill him. Lu Ming turned around, and brought Xiangsheng Bella with him to continue hunting the three-eyed god. On the other side, Huang Ling, Long Chun, and Luo Xiang were fighting a life-and-death battle with two emperor-to-be. It was very difficult for the three of them to fight against two emperor-to-be experts. It was a real life-and-death battle where their lives were in danger at any time. Huang Ling used the law of the undying fire to cast the undying cage. While she attacked, she also achieved a defensive effect. As for Long Chun, his entire body swelled up like a giant. Every attack he made was accompanied by the trumpeting of elephants and the stomping of divine statues as he attacked his opponent. As for Luo Xiang, he was wandering around with an iron sword in his hand. It looked rusty, but it was extremely sharp. His body was sometimes fast and sometimes slow, and the speed of his sword was also sometimes fast and sometimes slow, making it impossible to guard against. Even so, under the terrifying attack of the other party's emperor-to-be, they were still in a dangerous situation and facing a fatal crisis. Die! An emperor-to-be suddenly pounced at Luo Xiang with all his might. The terrifying power sealed the space around Luo Xiang, making it difficult for him to move at his maximum speed. Then a violent attack was launched at Luo Xiang. Among the three of them, Luo Xiang's cultivation was the lowest. They had to kill him first before killing the others. Not good. Huang Ling and Long Chen's expressions changed. They wanted to help, but were blocked by the other emperor-to-be. Die! The emperor-to-be's eyes were filled with ferocity as he charged at Luo Xiang. In the face of a life-and-death crisis, Luo Xiang was very calm. He squinted his eyes, which were shining with a terrifying sharpness. In his sea of consciousness, the sword soul was shaking, and the iron sword in his hand was buzzing. At this moment, he circulated all of his power. Whoosh! A beam of sword light burst out and lit up the sky. It was extremely stunning. The three-eyed goddess attack was broken through. These kids must die. The three-eyed god roared in his heart. These young men were too strong. When they matured in the future, they would definitely be the greatest enemies of their race. He once again charged towards Luo Xiang. Buzz! The iron sword in Luo Xiang's hand trembled and emitted a dazzling light. At this moment, a powerful aura burst out from his body. He had broken through. At the critical moment, Luo Xiang broke through. His cultivation had been at the limit of the upper tier of the Absolute Saint realm, and now, facing a life-and-death crisis, he broke through and entered the peak of the Absolute Saint realm. Chapter 1992. Chapter 1992. Chapter 1992. Killing their way to the wind. Chapter 1992. Chapter 1992 Killing their way to the Wind Clan's territory. You've broken through good. Long Chen and Feng Ling were overjoyed. Luo Xiang's battle strength had increased greatly as he broke through the opponent's attack. He cooperated with Feng Ling and Long Chen to fight the opponent. Luo Xiang's breakthrough had increased their combat strength, and they were finally able to deal with the enemy. No one noticed that in the distance, a cold gaze would sweep across Lu Ming and the rest from time to time. This man was Feng Wuchen. These people have gathered together. Sooner or later, they will be a great threat to our Wind Clan. We must get rid of them as soon as possible. Feng Wuchen's eyes flashed with a fierce light as he sent a message to his subordinates. After that, they attacked some of the three-eyed gods, and after a few moves, they suddenly changed their direction and charged toward Feng Ling, Long Chen, and Luo Xiang. And MBSB, the three-eyed god race members, were furiously chasing after them. Soon, they were approaching the battlefield of Feng Ling, Long Chen, and Luo Xiang. Not good. The expressions of Huang Ling and the other two changed. Feng Wuchen was trying to use the three-eyed god race to kill them. You've come at the right time. These kids are the top heaven's favorites of the human race. They'll be a great threat in the future. We must get rid of them first. One of the three-eyed god race members who was fighting against Feng Wuchen and the others roared and called for the three-eyed god race members who were chasing after Feng Wuchen to come and kill them. All right, let's kill these people first. The three-eyed god race that was chasing after Feng Wuchen's group immediately gave up on Feng Wuchen's group and charged towards Huang Ling's group. Among Feng Wuchen and the others, only Feng Wuchen was a top-notch heaven's favorite. The others were all old and had limited potential. Compared to killing Feng Wuchen and the others, the three-eyed god race would naturally be more willing to kill Huang Ling, Long Chen, and Luo Xiang. Instantly, at least 3 to 4 emperors to be, and more than 10 absolute saints charged toward them. The three of them changed their expressions and retreated quickly, but they were entangled by the 2 emperor to be. Ha ha ha. Feng Wuchen was overjoyed. The process had gone much smoother than he had expected. He brought the experts of the Wind Clan and left this place quickly. On the other side, Lu Ming also discovered this scene. Not good. Lu Ming's expression turned ugly. With a wave of his hand, a beam of saint energy swept Xiangxiang up and quickly rushed towards Huang Ling and the others. However, he was still a distance away from Huang Ling and the others. Fi would need time to get there. Facing the siege of so many emperor-to-be experts, Huang Ling, Long Chen, and Luo Xiang were in a fatal crisis. Long Chen's body was pierced by a destructive light, and his flesh exploded. He scene was extremely terrifying. Luo Xiang didn't have it easy either. One of his arms had been chopped off. Although Huang Ling had the law of the unperishable flame, she had blocked more attacks and was severely injured. The 3 of them were heavily injured and were in danger. You guys quickly retreat. Long Chen roared and his long hair fluttered in the wind. He kept punching out with both fists. The figures of divine elephants appeared one after another and rushed toward the other party. Lai was fighting several emperor to be alone to seize the opportunity for Huang Ling and Luo Xiang to escape. However, he was alone and his combat power was limited. The divine elephant was destroyed and his body was hit. Half of his body directly exploded and he almost died. Die! A three-eyed emperor to Best eyes flashed with ferocity as he swung his axe at Long Chen's head. If this attack landed, Long Chen would definitely die. At this moment Long Chen, Feng Ling, and Luo Xiang's bodies flickered like phantoms. In the next instant, they reappeared 1,000 meters away, causing the three-eyed god race's attack to miss. A petite figure appeared beside Feng Ling and the others. It was Bubbles' timely help that saved them. Kill! The three-eyed god race members charged towards Pow Pow. You're the ones who are going to die, chirp chirp. Bubbles pressed down with her small hand, and the air rippled. The bodies of the absolute saints were instantly ground into pieces by the spatial power. Even the emperors to be were forced to retreat and spit our blood. Space-time law, no retreat. One of the three-eyed god race quasi-emperor's expression changed drastically as he tried to retreat. However, a few transparent bubbles appeared and enveloped them. Die! A cold voice came from the sky. Then, spearlights burst down and pierced into their heads. A total of 7 emperor-to-be were killed in an instant. Lu Ming descended and waved his hand, collecting the three-eyed god's corpse. He then took a step forward and appeared beside Huang Ling and the others. "You guys recuperate first," Lu Ming said. Long Chen, Luo Xiang, and Feng Ling were severely injured, especially Long Chen and Luo Xiang. Their bodies were almost blown apart. With the strength of their spirit bodies, it was not difficult for them to regrow their limbs. The 3 of them sat cross-legged in the air and began to recuperate. Lu Ming and Bubbles stood guard in the surroundings. Any three-eyed god that tried to attack them was mercilessly killed by them. Long Chen and Luo Xiang's bodies began to heal and recover. A few hours later, the 3 of them had fully recovered from their external injuries. However, it would take a few days for them to return to their peak condition. Thump thump thump. At this moment, the war drums began to beat, and the three-eyed god race began to retreat. Feng Wuchen. Lu Ming's eyes flickered with cold murderous intent. Lai then walked in the direction of Arichi base. Luo Tianyi, Huang Ling, and the rest looked at each other and followed Lu Ming. Soon they returned to the base. Lu Ming did not stop. Lai kept going up and finally came to a magnificent hall. His palace was the Wind Race's encampment. Lu Ming walked toward the main entrance of the hall. "Stop right there. This is the territory of the Wind Race. Other than the members of the Wind Race, only those who have been invited can enter. Have you been invited?" In front of the door, 2 strong men blocked Lu Ming. "Get lost!" Lu Ming shouted loudly. The 2 strong men's bodies shook violently, and they were sent flying, vomiting blood. "You, how dare you!" One of them pointed at Lu Ming and shouted. Bang! Lu Ming suddenly took a step forward. A terrifying force surged out and bombarded the door of the Wind Clan's palace. Boom! The door exploded into pieces. 2 big men guarding the door were stunned. Here was actually someone who dared to break the door of the Wind Clan's palace. This was simply a slap to the Wind Clan's face. How audacious! Commotion here had also alerted the other forces. Figures flew out from the palaces and looked over. It's Lu Ming lies so bold. He actually smashed Arichi Wine Clan's gate. What happened? Why did Lu Ming do that? One heard that Lu Ming and Feng Wuchen have a grudge. Surroundings were abuzz with discussion. Who are you? You're looking for death. Angry roars came from the Wind Clan's palace. Figures rushed out one after another, looking at Lu Ming and the others with cold knife-like eyes. Where's Feng Wuchen? Tell him to come out and face his death. Lu Ming shouted, ignoring the Wind Tribe experts. You are Lu Ming. One of the Wind Clan's experts recognized Lu Ming, and his eyes narrowed slightly. Back then, the Wind Clan naturally knew about the commotion that Lu Ming had caused in the ancient Moon Holy Land. Chapter 1993. Chapter 1993. I'll kill you. Chapter 1993. I'll kill you, Feng Wuchen. Come out and face your death. Lu Ming shouted again, his voice shaking the entire base. Lu Ming, how dare you break the door of the Wind Clan for no reason? Today, you must give us an explanation no matter what. One of the Wind Race's quasi-emperors shouted coldly. Explanation? Bullshit. Get lost. Lu Ming swept his gaze across the room and told the other party to get lost, not giving him any face at all. The people from the other forces all had different expressions and were secretly shocked. The Wind Clan was an ancient clan with a long history. They had a deep foundation and were extremely powerful. However, Lu Ming did not give them any face at all. He even told the Wind Clan to get lost. You're too arrogant. I'll cripple you. An emperor-to-be roared and his body turned into a gust of wind, rushing toward Lu Ming. With a wave of his hand, a dense wind blade flew out, extremely sharp, and attacked Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming did not even look at him. He threw a punch, causing the air to tremble. The wind blades flew backward under the force of Lu Ming's violent punch and hit the opponent's body. The Wind Race's emperor-to-be let out a blood-curdling screech as his body was sent flying back. He crashed into the wall of the Wind Race's palace and lay on the ground half dead. Everyone was shocked. Lu Ming's combat strength was terrifying. He had injured an emperor-to-be, with one punch, without even looking at him. Where's Feng Wuchen? Has he become a tortoise? Tell him to come out. Lu Ming took a step forward. The experts of the Wind tribe could not help but take a few steps back. Lu Ming, how dare you come to my Wind clan, smash our gate, and even injure our people? What do you want? A cold voice was heard. Feng Wuchen walked out of the Feng clan's palace and looked at Lu Ming with an ugly expression. He did not expect Lu Ming to be so bold as to directly attack the Wind clan's encampment. I'm here to kill you. Lu Ming continued to step forward. He was very direct and could not be bothered to talk nonsense with Feng Wuchen. Back then, in the world of the lotus flower, the reason why Qiuyu was injured was also related to Feng Wuchen. At that time, Feng Wuchen and the experts of the Feng clan had joined forces with the people of the Daluo Heaven sect to hurt Qiuyu. And now Feng Wuchen was even more aggressive. Not only did he purposely make things difficult for them, he even lured the three-eyed god race's experts to kill them with a borrowed knife. Lu Ming's killing intent towards Feng Wuchen had already reached the extreme. He could not bear it anymore. He had to kill Feng Wuchen today. Feng Wuchen's expression changed. He couldn't help but take a few steps back behind the experts of the Wind clan and shouted, Lu Ming, I didn't expect you to be so narrow-minded. When you wanted to exchange for resources and treasures, I said that one didn't have enough treasures and asked you to come back after a period of time. You've harbored a grudge against me and wanted to kill me. Now is the time for us to unite against the enemy, but you want to kill me and cause internal strife. One really wonder if you have already joined the alien race. Feng Wuchen directly put all the blame on Lu Ming, saying that Lu Ming was narrow-minded, and even said that Lu Ming had joined the alien race. Huang Ling, Lu Xiangxiang, and the others were so angry that their faces turned green. He had seen shameless people, but he had never seen someone so shameless. You're talking nonsense. You're the one who hates my master in US. On the battlefield, you deliberately led the alien races to kill us, and wanted to kill us with a borrowed knife. Now you're slandering us. Lu Xiangxiang cried out unhappily. Many people's gazes moved as they thought to themselves, so that's how it is. To be able to cultivate to this stage, they were all smart people. Previously, when Feng Wuchen randomly accused them, not many people would believe it. On the contrary, more people believed Lu Xiangxiang's words. It was no wonder that Lu Ming was so murderous that he went straight to the Wind clan's encampment. It turned out that Feng Wuchen wanted to kill with a borrowed knife, and deliberately led the alien race to Lu Ming and the others. He was really despicable. Many people were thinking this, but no one stood out. The Wind race was an ancient race, and was very powerful. Who would dare to offend the Wind race? There were also some people who were gloating, such as the Golden Crow race and the Wan family. They would be happier if the conflict between Lu Ming and the Wind clan intensified, and they killed each other. They hoped that the Wind clan would kill Lu Ming. Little girl, you're talking nonsense. You're full of nonsense. It was your master who told you to slander me, right? You need evidence to speak. Feng Wuchen sneered. It's clearly like that. We can all testify. Lu Xiangxiang said. You'll testify? What a joke. It's more like you guys are ganging up to slander me. Feng Wuchen sneered. You. Lu Xiangxiang's face was red with anger. Bang. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly took another step forward and said, Xiangxiang, why are you talking so much nonsense with this kind of person? Just kill him directly. Buzz. Then, Lu Ming's figure suddenly accelerated, and he rushed toward Feng Wuchen. How audacious. Let's join forces and take him down. The many emperors-to-be of the Wind race were furious. In an instant, at least 10 of them attacked Lu Ming. Get lost, die. Lu Ming shouted. The light of chaos enveloped his body, and he used the chaotic finger of tribulation, pointing 10 times in succession. Bang! Bang! With a series of collision sounds, the 10 Emperor-to-Bes attacks were broken. Their bodies trembled and they retreated. There was a bloody hole in each of their bodies, and blood was flowing out. Hiss hiss hiss. Many people gasped. The combined forces of 10 Emperor-to-be experts were no match for Lu Ming, and were instantly injured by him. Such combat strength was too terrifying. Feng Wuchen, you will die today. Lu Ming took another step forward, causing Feng Wuchen's face to turn pale. He could not help but retreat. Enough! At this moment a cold voice was heard. A figure walked out of the Wind Clan's palace, and a vast aura filled the air. Emperor Might. This was a martial sovereign. Feng Wuchen was overjoyed. Lu Ming could not do anything to him when a martial emperor attacked. Elder Lu Ming is a lawless man. Not only did he destroy the Wind Clan's main gate, but he also continuously injured our experts. Hurry up and kill this man. Feng Wuchen shouted. Lu Ming looked at the Wind Clan's martial emperor and said calmly, "You're a martial supreme. Try and attack me." The Wind Clan's martial emperor frowned when he heard this. The hearts of the people from the other powers also moved. They thought back to a few years ago, to Uncle Kong. Lu Ming had an extremely powerful figure behind him. Given Lu Ming's current realm, if the other party attacked an emperor-to-be, Uncle Kong would probably not say anything. However, if the other party attacked a martial emperor, would Uncle Kong make a trip to the Wind Tribe? Lu Ming, don't push your luck. It's easy to break if you're too hard. Leave. Let today's matter rest. The Wind Race's martial sovereign said. Many people's eyes flickered. The Wind Race's martial sovereign's words were equivalent to giving in. This made Feng Wuchen's eyes flash with unwillingness. Today he had a good reason to kill Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming clearly did not appreciate it. You can let it go, but I didn't say that. Feng Wuchen deliberately led the alien race to kill us. He must die. Lu Ming's voice was cold. The murderous intent on his body grew stronger, causing the temperature at the scene to drop. Lu Ming, you're going too far. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have the backing of an old man. The Wind Race is fearless. The Wind Race's martial sovereign's face turned grave as he said coldly. Chapter 1994. Chapter 1994. Do whatever you want to do. Chapter 1994. Do whatever you want to do, Lu Ming sneered. Fearless? If he was really fearless, he wouldn't have talked so much nonsense with him. He would probably have killed him with a slap. Kill. Lu Ming let out a long hiss and launched an attack, his figure suddenly pouncing towards Feng Wuchen. Many people sighed. Lu Ming was still the same Lu Ming, the Lu Ming who stirred up a storm in the ancient Moon Holy Land. He was still so bold as to kill Feng Wuchen, the Wind Race's king body, in front of the Wind Race's martial sovereign. Impudent. The Wind Race's martial sovereign shouted and pressed down with one hand. A powerful aura was exerted on Lu Ming's body. In an instant, the air in the surroundings seemed to have frozen. Lu Ming felt as if hundreds of mountains were pressing down on him. His body came to a halt. Bubble, let's attack together. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Bubbles. Bubbles had been sitting on Lu Ming's shoulder. At this moment, her small face was flushed red. The light of space-time spread out, and her small hand was like a knife, slashing forward. Zzz. The space fluctuated violently, as if it was about to split open. A crack appeared on the force that the other party used on Lu Ming. Break! Lu Ming shouted. The light of chaos burst out, and he pointed with all his might. And NBSB primal chaos energy surged, and the power of the primal chaos tribulation finger exploded into a single point, combining with the power of the bubble. Boom! The space was boiling, and a crack was torn open by the power of the martial sovereign. Not good. The Wind Clan's martial sovereign's expression changed. However, in the next moment, Lu Ming's figure disappeared from where he was standing. He broke through the martial emperor's power, and suddenly appeared in front of Feng Wuchen. He grabbed at Feng Wuchen with his big hand. Feng Wuchen initially thought that with a martial emperor present, he would be safe. He did not expect Lu Ming to break through the barrier of a martial emperor's power and suddenly appear in front of him. He wanted to retreat, but it was too late. Lu Ming grabbed his neck with his large hand. A violent force surged in and sealed his cultivation. Bang! Lu Ming grabbed Feng Wuchen and smashed him onto the ground. The ground rumbled. The ground of the Feng clan's palace was made of solid black gold stone, but it was all cracked. Feng Wuchen was embedded into the black gold stone. He spat out mouthfuls of blood, his body twitched, and his eyes turned white like dead fish. The people from the other forces were all dumbfounded and shocked. First, she was shocked that Lu Ming could break through the barrier of a martial supreme's power. Under the suppression of a martial emperor's power, an ordinary martial emperor would find it difficult to move at all. Secondly, she was shocked that Lu Ming really did what he said. He seriously injured Feng Wuchen in front of the Wen clan's martial emperor, in the Wen clan's palace. It looked like he really wanted to kill Feng Wuchen. A fiend. A true fiend. Lu Xiangxiang and the others watched with their blood boiling. I advise you to let Feng Wuchen go. The Wind race's martial sovereign's face was extremely gloomy, and a terrifying killing intent was brewing. Lu Ming had actually managed to take down Feng Wuchen despite being blocked by his power. This made him lose all face. Moreover, Feng Wuchen couldn't die. He had the unparalleled king body, and his future was unpredictable. He had the potential to become a great emperor. Although the Wind race was an ancient race with deep foundations and astonishing strength, they didn't have a great emperor. A great emperor was too important to a force. Let him go and let him continue to take revenge on me? One won't give him a second chance. Lu Ming's eyes were cold. He stepped on Feng Wuchen's face, causing his body to twitch again. If you kill him, your friends will die too. A few more voices came from the Wind clan's palace, each of them exuding an extremely shocking aura. Martial Emperor, they were all martial emperors. One of them had a vast aura, and was surrounded by the divine light of the world. He was a true emperor. It seemed like the Wind race was no longer calm. Martial emperor powerhouses appeared one after another. The one who had just spoken was the true emperor, and he looked sharply at Lu Xiangxiang and the others. The true emperor is actually threatening me with a few juniors. What a joke. Lu Ming's face was gloomy. Let Feng Wuchen go now. Otherwise, none of you will be able to escape. I know that you have an old saying behind you. But you can scare others, but you can't scare the Wind race. The Wind race's true emperor said coldly. A powerful aura enveloped Lu Xiangxiang and the others. With a single thought, Lu Xiangxiang and the others would die. Master, don't worry about us. Kill that guy. Lu Xiangxiang called out. Shut up. The Wind race's true emperor shouted coldly. He raised his hand and pressed down, causing a huge hand to grab Xiangxiang Bella. Right at this moment, the space in front of Xiangxiang Bella suddenly split open, and a walking stick flew out. With a single sweep, it destroyed the Wind race true emperor's giant hand. Then the walking stick expanded rapidly, turning into an ancient tree that reached the sky. It then smashed down toward the Wind true emperor. Uncle Kong! Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He naturally recognized that this walking stick belonged to Uncle Kong. It's Grandpa Kong. Lu Xiangxiang cried out. The true emperor of the Wind race's expression changed drastically as he felt a terrifying pressure from the staff. He let out a long roar, and the time of the world burst out, blasting out the power of the world. Endless gales whistled and swept towards the crutch. However, the wind dispersed as the walking stick pressed down. The huge walking stick landed on the Wind race's true thearch's body and sent him flying for 100 miles. His face was pale as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Everyone was shocked. A true emperor was injured in one move. This was truly terrifying. It's the one from the Great Yin Elixir Palace. His strength is truly unfathomable and difficult to estimate. The experts from the other forces of ancient Moon Holy Land discussed in shock. In the Skywolf Tower, the Wan family's people had very ugly expressions. This was because two of their true emperor experts had been killed by Uncle Kong. A few years ago, I said that the elders should not interfere in the matters of the younger generation, especially now that they are just a group of Sage Realm experts. If your Void Emperor, and even the true emperor want to attack, don't blame me for bullying the young. Uncle Kong's voice resounded from the walking stick. Senior, it's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. Feng Wuchen has also suffered. Let Lu Ming let him go and well let this matter go. The Wind clan won't ask about it anymore. What do you think? The Wind race's true emperor cupped his fists and said, I don't care about the matters of the younger generation. Let them decide for themselves whether to kill or not. It's best if you great emperors don't get involved. Uncle Kong's voice sounded. Senior, so you're going to interfere? It won't do you any good to start a war with my Wind clan. The Wind Race's true emperor said coldly. I'd like to see how you're going to make it so that I won't get any benefits. Uncle Kong's voice sounded. The Wind Race's martial sovereigns all had unsightly expressions. It was obvious that Uncle Kong was going to interfere. Quickly send a message to the chief. The Wind Race's true emperor sent a voice transmission to a Void Emperor of the Wind Race. The Void Emperor nodded and secretly sent out the news. Lu Ming, just do what you want. There's no need to worry. Uncle Kong's voice rang out from within the cane. His words made the experts of the Wind Race change their expressions. Stop! The members of the Wind Race roared. No! Feng Wuchen started to struggle crazily as if he could feel death approaching. Chapter 1995. Chapter 1995. Chapter 1995. Killing Feng Wuchen. Chapter 1995. Chapter 1995. Killing Feng Wuchen. Now you're afraid. You should have thought of this when you lured the three-eyed god race to harm us. Lu Ming said coldly. He had a deep killing intent towards Feng Wuchen. The Saint Power gathered and formed a long spear, stabbing toward Feng Wuchen's head. The long spear pierced through Feng Wuchen's head and nailed him to the ground. Feng Wuchen struggled a few times and stopped breathing. He was dead. A peerless king physique died just like that. He was killed by Lu Ming in public in the Wind Clan's palace in front of countless experts. You're looking for death. The Wind Race's true emperor roared. The power of his world burst forth, and he charged toward Lu Ming. Feng Wuchen was the hope of the Wind Clan. Now that he was dead, he must kill Lu Ming. It seems like you want to die. Uncle Kong's voice came from the walking stick. Buzz. Then, the sword was unsheathed, and the sound of the sword resounded through the sky. Everyone only saw a flash of sword light. Then, they saw the Wind Race's true emperor's body freeze in the air, and all his aura disappeared without a trace. Then, a bloody gash appeared on the true emperor's forehead, and he was cut in half. Gulu. Many people swallowed their saliva, their hearts trembling. A true emperor was killed just like that. It was the same as a few years ago. You've gone too far. At this time, an angry roar came from the distance. Then, a terrifying whistling sound rang out in the sky. In the distance, an endless storm swept over, covering the sky and the sun, shrouding the entire ancient Moon Holy Land. At this moment, many people felt like it was the end of the world. It was as if the heavens and earth were about to collapse. It was a terrifying sight. The wind was like countless divine weapons. The space was cut open like tofu, revealing a ferocious spatial crack. In the endless wind, there was a tall and majestic figure, as if he was indomitable, like a demon god. A terrifying pressure pressed down on everyone, making it hard for them to breathe. Chief, the chief is here, they're dead. The experts of the Wind Race were overjoyed. It's the Wind Clan's patriarch, peak true emperor. There were also true emperor experts from the other forces. At this moment, someone spoke with an extremely solemn voice. Peak true emperor. Many people gasped. The Wind Race's true emperor, that had just been killed by Uncle Kong, had only become a true emperor not long ago. He was a 1-star true emperor. The Wind Clan's patriarch was a 7-star true emperor. The difference in strength between the two of them was too great. It seemed that the Wind Clan was enraged, and the clan leader had personally taken action. Lu Ming, that kid is dead for sure. And that old fellow from the Great Yin Elixir Palace is also dead, haha. The Golden Crow clan, the Wan family, and the other forces were overjoyed. Lu Ming, Uncle Kong, weren't you arrogant? You've kicked an iron plate now. Who else could compete with a peak true emperor other than a great emperor? They didn't believe that Uncle Kong was this strong. Today, I'll let you all be buried with Wuchen. A cold and emotionless voice rang out from the endless violent wind. The violent wind swept towards Uncle Kong, Lu Ming and the rest. Buzz! The sound of a long sword being unsheathed rang out again. A sword light burst out, splitting the entire sky in half. It was truly split into two. The entire sky was split open, revealing a terrifying dark void. The Wind Clan leader's boundless gale was like a weak candle flame. It instantly vanished without a trace. Then everyone heard a mournful scream. A figure frantically retreated. Drops of blood scattered across the sky. In the distance, a middle-aged man in green robes appeared. His face was pale, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. This was the clan leader of the Wind clan. Everyone present was shocked. The clan leader of the Feng clan was injured. This was a peak true emperor, the clan leader of an ancient clan, and an overlord of a region. Yet such a character was injured by a single sword strike. Blood splattered across the sky. This was too terrifying. More importantly, the other party hadn't even appeared. He was only controlling a sword from a distance, but it already had such terrifying power. It made it difficult for one to calm down. Great Emperor? Could he be a great emperor expert? Someone said with great difficulty, his voice filled with shock and disbelief. Controlling a long sword from a distance, and making a peak true emperor spill blood in one move, who else? But a great emperor could do such a thing? Great Emperor. Ancient Moon Holy Land actually had a hidden great emperor. The elder from the Great Yin Elixir Palace was actually a great emperor. Everyone's heart trembled at the thought. Although the difference between a peak true emperor and a great emperor was only one step, this step was like heaven and earth. It was difficult to cross. In particular, the Golden Crow clan, the Wan family, the Skywolf Tower, and other forces who had a grudge against Lu Ming had extremely ugly expressions and were deeply worried. Uncle Kong is actually this strong. Even Lu Ming and the group were shocked. I'll spare you this time, considering how difficult it was for you to cultivate. If there's a next time 111 kill you. Uncle Kong's voice came out from the walking stick again, and it was filled with killing intent. The Wind clan's patriarch's expression was extremely unsightly. There was a hint of fear on his face. At this moment, he gritted his teeth and cupped his fists. Senior, there's something I must make clear today. Speak. Uncle Kong's voice sounded again. The Wind race can forget about the previous matter, the Wind clan leader said. His words moved the hearts of many. It was obvious that the Wind race had given in. In other words, Feng Wuxian's death today would have been in vain. However, everyone could understand. What could they do when a great emperor stood behind Lu Ming? Are you looking for death? The other members of the Wind race all looked indignant and humiliated. However, even if they were humiliated, they could only endure it. The Wind race only has yourselves to blame for this. And you still want to pursue the matter? Continue. Uncle Kong's calm voice rang out. Senior, this time, the Wind clan can just let it go. However, if Lu Ming kills anyone from the Wind clan on sight because he has your support, or even kills his way into the Wind clan's territory, the Wind clan will definitely retaliate. If he had a knife and wanted to kill the Wind race's great emperor realm expert, the Wind race's martial emperor would not have just stood there and let him kill us. In that case, even if Lu Ming has the support of a senior, the Wind race would not hesitate to fight. Senior, even if you can kill me, my Wind clan will scatter and hide. You won't be able to kill all of us. My Wind clan will madly seek revenge. Senior can't protect these juniors forever. The Wind clan's patriarch spoke with a determined tone. If Lu Ming wantonly killed the members of the Wind clan would not hesitate to fight. Uncle Kong could protect Lu Ming, Lu Xiangxiang, and the others for a while, but could he protect them forever? Unless they did not go out. The clan leader of the Wind clan had no other choice. He was really afraid that Lu Ming would kill the people of the Wind clan unscrupulously, because he had the support of a great emperor. If that was the case, they would rather fight to the death. Senior, the Golden Crow tribe also has the same idea. We can't be killed passively without retaliating. A true emperor from the Golden Crow race walked out and cupped his fist towards Uncle Kong's walking stick. Chapter 1996. Chapter 1996. The Ancient Capital of Mount Yuan. Chapter 1996. The Ancient Capital of Mount Yuan. The WN family also has the same intention. My Skywolf Tower. Following that, true emperors from the Wan family, the Sirius Tower, and the Purple Extreme sect, who were equivalent to Lu Ming's enemies, stepped out and expressed their attitudes. It was impossible for them to be killed by Lu Ming passively. If that was the case, they might as well fight. I've already said it back then. It seems that you don't understand. Then today I'll say it again. Lu Ming is now in the sage state. If anyone below the rank of Marshal Supreme attacks him, the old man won't care. It's your ability that you can kill him. If he corroborates his Tao and becomes an emperor, then all of you at the Void Emperor realm can make a move. If he can't beat you, then it's his own fault. Similarly, if he reaches the True Emperor realm, all of you at the True Emperor realm can take action. This old man will not interfere. Uncle Kong's voice sounded. The eyes of the Wind Race, the Golden Crow Race, and the other forces flickered. Right now those below the Martial Supreme realm could not make a move. Almost no one was Lu Ming's match. However, as long as Lu Ming broke through to the Void Arch realm, all the Void Thearchs would be able to take action. The Void Emperor was divided into 1 to 7 stars, and the gap between 1 star and 7 stars was huge. As long as Lu Ming broke through to the illusionary divine stage, that would be their chance. Alright, there are so many people here today. I hope Senior will keep his word, the Wind Clan's patriarch said. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. With Lu Ming's talent, it was almost certain that he would become a celestial emperor. As long as Lu Ming broke through to the Void Emperor realm, he would get rid of Lu Ming at all costs. This old man is a man of his word. Get lost. Uncle Kong's voice rang out. Then, his walking stick trembled and disappeared without a trace. The clan leader of the Wind Clan cast a cold glance at Lu Ming, then turned around and left. Let's go, Lu Ming said. Then he left the place with Xiangxiang Bella and the rest. They headed towards the peak of the mountain. They wanted to exchange their spoils of war for resources. He knew very well that the reason why Uncle Kong had set such a rule was to train him. After he broke through to the Void Thearch realm, all of the other Void Thearchs would be able to take action. This would indeed put a lot of pressure on him, but it would also have the effect of tempering himself. Of course, if the opponent's true emperor were to attack, it wouldn't be a test but a crushing defeat. These conditions gave the Wind Race, the Golden Crow Race, and the other forces hope to kill Lu Ming. Naturally, the other party agreed. Otherwise, it would be like what the other party had said, to fight to the death. All of this naturally had to be built on the terrifying battle power of Uncle Kong. Only a powerful deterrent would be able to make the other party yield. Lu Ming and the others came to the place where they could exchange for treasures and resources. This time, no one made things difficult for them. They exchanged all the third eye of the three-eyed god race for various treasures that they could use. Lu Ming mainly focused on sacred medicine and raw gemstones. In the mountain and river diagram in the Phoenix Palace's encampment, Lu Ming kept throwing sacred medicine into the Dian elixir furnace. He controlled the elixir fire to refine the sacred medicine, and the medicinal power of the sacred medicine seeped into Qiuyu's body. Qiuyu was floating quietly in the Dian elixir furnace. Her face was ruddy and she looked normal, but she had not woken up. Now that the foreign tribes have invaded, we don't know where Vientiane Tower is. Qiuyu, after we have quelled the foreign tribes, one will definitely look for Vientiane Tower and find a way to save you, Lu Ming said softly. He then closed the lid of the furnace and kept the Dian elixir furnace in his sea of consciousness. Then, Lu Ming took a step forward and arrived at another mountain peak. Heavenly Emperor Heng Ye's physical body stood on the peak of the mountain, constantly absorbing the energy of the outside world. However, the energy stored in Celestial Emperor's corporeal body during this period of time was still less than 1%. Celestial Emperor's corporeal body was like an incomparably huge water tank, and energy was like water. It was too difficult to fill this water tank with water. After such a long period of time, including the 1 million or so high-grade raw stones that Lu Ming had consumed previously, it was still less than 1%. Who knew how long it would take to reach 100%? However, this was the body left behind by the Celestial Arch. Even if there was only 10% of the energy stored in it, the power would still be shocking when it exploded. At this moment, Lu Ming took out a pile of bracelets. They were all the storage bracelets he had obtained from the three-eyed god. He then organized the items in the storage bracelets. Then there was a pile of black crystals on the ground. They were piled up like a mountain, and no one knew how many pieces there were. This kind of crystal was also a kind of energy crystal, very similar to a raw stone. However, it was not raw qi inside but a strange energy. Warriors could also absorb and refine it, but the difficulty of refining it was higher than raw qi. Lu Ming planned to fuse the energy of these crystals into the celestial thearch's body. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming waved his hand, and a large number of crystals exploded, turning into surging energy that was absorbed by the celestial thearch's body. In the next few days, Lu Ming did not participate in any battles. He focused on helping the celestial thearch's physical body refine the crystals. In 3 days, all the crystals had been refined, and the energy stored in the celestial emperor's body had finally broken through 1% and reached about 1.5%. Lu Ming revealed a look of joy. He was getting closer and closer to 10%. Back then, the celestial emperor's mark had told him that he could only control the celestial emperor's corporeal body when he could control 10% of the stored energy. This was because the celestial thearch's corporeal body was made of stone. Right now it was like a puppet. Without enough energy it couldn't be activated. As long as the energy stored in the celestial thearch's body reached 10%, it would become Lu Ming's greatest trump card. In the following days, he was still fighting against the three-eyed god race and tempering himself on the battlefield. It was unknown if it was because the three-eyed god race's forces were split into 8, but the forces that came to the ancient Moon Holy Land's side were not strong. After another half a month, the three-eyed god race was gradually suppressed by the ancient Moon Holy Land's forces, and they were even forced to retreat. Looks like the three-eyed god race wasn't that hard to deal with after all. At this moment, a piece of news spread throughout Mount Yuan. In the ancient capital of Mount Yuan, the Skyfire Emperor, Huntian Emperor, and Formless Emperor announced to the world that they had gathered all the experts in the entire Mount Yuan to prepare for a full-on counterattack. As soon as the news came out, Mount Yuan was shaken. Countless powerful cultivators gathered at the ancient capital of Mount Yuan. Lu Ming and the rest were overjoyed when they heard the news. These 3 great emperors were the 3 great emperors who founded the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. Back then, there was no news of the 3 great emperors after the battle at the Heavenly Emperor City. Lu Ming and the rest were worried that the 3 great emperors would be in trouble. Now it seemed that they were all fine. In ancient Moon Holy Land, all the major forces sent their experts to the Yuan Mountain ancient capital. They met up with the other experts and started their counterattack. Lu Ming and the rest followed the Phoenix Palace and Divine Elephant Sect cultivators to the ancient capital of Mount Yuan to participate in the battle. The ancient capital of Mount Yuan was located in the north of Mount Yuan. A long time ago, this place was once the #1 holy land of Mount Yuan. However, after the appearance of the Heavenly Emperor City, it had stepped down from the #1 throne. When Lu Ming and the rest arrived, they discovered that countless experts had gathered at the ancient capital of Mount Yuan. They came from all over the place. Chapter 1997. Chapter 1997. The Origin of Evil Spirit. Chapter 1997. The origin of evil spirit Lu Ming, and the rest would find a place to stay. 3 days later. Clang, clang, clang. The majestic sound of the bell reverberated throughout the ancient capital of Mount Yuan. The great emperor had gathered all the experts. In the ancient capital of Mount Yuan, countless powerful cultivators gathered towards the source of the bell. So many experts. Lu Xiangxiang raised her head and looked around. Countless figures whistled past. Some people had particularly terrifying auras. Even if they didn't deliberately release their auras, the faint emperor pressure could still be clearly felt. A martial supreme. Many martial emperor powerhouses had turned into an army of martial emperors. The number of emperor-ranked forces that were scattered outside the 9 sacred lands gathered together was astonishing. Of course, the absolute saints and emperor-to-be were the most numerous. It was extremely difficult to vindicate Tao and become an emperor. Since ancient times, countless warriors have been stuck at the emperor-to-be realm. Therefore, at a glance, there were emperors-to-be everywhere. Not long after, they arrived at an extremely wide square. In the middle of the square, There was a large bell that was constantly vibrating. Countless figures had already gathered around the square. With so many experts gathered together to launch an attack, it's really going to destroy the world. Lu Ming was also secretly shocked. Buzz! And MBSB whoosh! More and more experts came, and more people gathered around the square. Look, it's the ancient sun-sacred lands Shenyuan Empire, and the Purple Flame Villa, the only sacred hall. Someone muttered nearby. Lu Ming looked over, and saw the people from the three major forces of the ancient sun-sacred land. Among the crowd from the Shenyuan Empire, Ouyang Wushuang looked at Lu Ming and the rest. He smiled and nodded. However, the strongest force in the ancient Yang Holy Land, the Daluo Heaven Sect, did not come. It's the people from the Sky Xian Holy Land and the Dragon Abyss Sacred Land. The powerful forces of the Holy Lands arrived one after another. Behind them, there were still a few more ancient race beings descending. Lu Ming saw Xian Yinjuan in the crowd of the ancient Saint clan. He was dressed in a snow-white robe and was very eye-catching. The ancient Saint clan was an extremely powerful ancient clan. There were strong and weak ancient clans. Some of the ancient races were slightly weaker, such as the Wind race. Although the Wind race was an ancient race, they didn't have a great emperor. As for the ancient Saint clan, it was said that they had a great emperor in charge. However, the two famous emperor-level forces of the Heavenly Emperor City, the Hung clan and the He clan, had not seen a single person. The Hung family, the He family, and the Daluo Heaven Sect are three great emperor-level forces. Why didn't anyone come? Many people were disappointed. With the addition of three emperor-level forces, they were much stronger. Perhaps the three forces will fight elsewhere. I'm just afraid that they'll hide and not fight. Many people were guessing. At this moment, three figures suddenly appeared in the sky, and the entire place fell silent. The three great emperors had arrived. Lu Ming and the others had seen one of the elders before. It was Emperor Formless. As for the other two, one of them was a burly man in a fiery red robe. He must be the Sky Fire Emperor. The other was a black-robed old man, Huntian Emperor. When the three great emperors appeared, the entire place fell silent. This old man is Wuxiang. I am Skyfire. This old man is Huntian. The three great emperors spoke up. Greetings, great emperor. Everyone bowed in respect. As long as the heavenly emperor didn't show up, the great emperor was at the peak, worthy of everyone's respect. Thank you for coming. Next, we'll fight the enemy together. Emperor Formless said. I'm willing to live and die with the great emperor. Many people shouted. Okay, but before the battle, I'll tell you about the origins of the alien races. I'm afraid many people here don't know about them. Emperor Wuxiang said. Many people shook their heads. During this period of time, they only knew that the alien race came from another world. They were brutal, killing anyone they saw. Everyone knows that the world we live in is the primordial realm, and the world next to the primordial realm is the heaven realm. The two worlds are twin worlds that can communicate with each other. However, the history of the heaven realm's path of cultivation far exceeds that of the primordial realm. In fact, many of the primordial realm's cultivation methods were passed down from the heaven realm. As Emperor Formless explained, everyone listened quietly. Many of them had already known about this secret. As for the alien races, they come from another world called the evil prison world. The living beings of this world call themselves the God race, but it's just a boast. We call them the evil race or the evil God race. In ancient times, the evil God tribe opened a void tunnel and invaded the heaven realm. They engaged in a bitter war with the heaven realm. The evil God tribe was ruthless and brutal. Wherever they went, not a blade of grass would grow. They would kill any living being they saw. All living beings were plunged into misery and suffering, and blood flowed like rivers. They didn't even let the old, weak, women and children off. Emperor Formless waved his hand, and images appeared in the air. Within the images were images of the evil God race's attack. Wherever they passed by, countless living beings would die tragically, and their corpses would form mountains. It was a tragic sight. Many scenes flashed by. Some of them were of great battles, and many powerful forces were annihilated by the evil God tribe. Lu Ming realized that other than the three-eyed God race, There were other races in the evil god race. Each and every one of them was extremely terrifying and strange. In ancient times, the heaven realm was no match for them. Countless experts died in battle, and countless powerful forces were annihilated. At that time, when the war reached its peak, the space was pierced through. Many ruins of the heaven realm fell into the primordial realm. The corpses of some experts fell into the primordial realm, forming some of the forbidden lands today. Of course, there were also strong practitioners from the evil god tribe, who took the opportunity to enter the primordial realm. Later on, the space repaired itself, and it was already very difficult for the evil god tribe to come over. The evil god race that entered the primordial realm back then secretly formed a terrifying force, such as the devil spirit cult and the evil spirit cult. They specialize in hunting down the primordial realm's prodigies and strong practitioners. Last time, it was these existences that opened the void passage and let the evil god race enter Celestial Emperor City. After Emperor Formless' explanation, many people finally understood what was going on. So forces like the demon spirit religion and evil spirit religion were created by the experts of the evil god race. No wonder. These evil cults should be eradicated as soon as possible. Many people were discussing. Evil spirit. Lu Ming clenched his fists tightly. Right now, the Azure region was still under the control of evil spirit. However, the void passageway that the evil god tribe opened up this time around is only a small one. It's not very stable, and those at the Great Sovereign Realm or above can't pass through. If they were to force their way through, the void passageway would collapse. Therefore, only those below the Great Sovereign Realm can pass through. Emperor Formless said. Everyone's eyes lit up. It turned out that the other party's great emperor and above experts couldn't come over. This was definitely good news. It's too early for you all to be happy. This is only a small-scale battle. In the future, if the evil god tribe really breaks open the void and opens a stable void passageway, or if the remaining powerhouses of the heaven realm are lost, then the evil god tribe will descend on a large scale. Therefore, the final battle will come sooner or later. Emperor Formless continued, causing many people to fall silent, their expressions grave. Chapter 1998. Chapter 1998. The Weapon of the Primal Chaos Emperor. Chapter 1998. The Weapon of the Primal Chaos Emperor. That's right. If the other party were to launch a large-scale attack in the future, what would happen? Some people revealed looks of despair. Therefore, we must win this battle. If we can't even win this small-scale battle, how are we going to fight in the future? How are we going to fight the final battle? How are we going to annihilate the evil god tribe? Emperor Formless' voice suddenly rose in pitch, and his aura grew stronger and stronger, as if he was a tiger that could swallow the world. Many people clenched their fists tightly. Are you guys willing to chase after us and win this battle? Annihilate the evil god tribe and protect your family, your loved ones, and your friends? Emperor Formless' voice grew louder and louder, filled with an indomitable will. I'm willing. Many people roared, their voices shaking the firmament. Especially some young people, their blood was boiling. Wasn't it just the evil god tribe? It was just a battle. In order to protect what he wanted to protect. So what if he died in battle? Alright. Next, we'll split into 3 armies led by the 3 of us. We'll form a triangular formation and completely annihilate the evil god tribe. Emperor Formless announced. After that, all the experts were divided into 3 armies, led by 3 great emperors. All the forces of ancient Moon Holy Land followed Emperor Formless. A day later, the army set off and charged towards the evil god tribe. Of course, the martial sovereigns on their side would deal with the emperor-level powerhouses on the other side, and those below the martial sovereign level would deal with those below the martial sovereign level. In this battle, they had almost wiped out the evil god tribe's army in the northern part of the Mount Yuan sacred land. After that, the evil god tribe mobilized their armies from a few other directions. There were also armies from the Heavenly Emperor City that came over. Both sides started a fierce battle in the north of the Yuan Mountain. This battle became a stalemate that lasted for half a year. For the past half a year, Lu Ming and the rest had been in constant battles, tempering themselves at all times. They often walked on the edge of life and death. To them, their improvement was extremely fast. Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the peak of the Absolute Saint realm, and was slowly approaching the perfected Absolute Saint realm. His combat strength was even more shocking. An ordinary emperor-to-be would not even be left with a single punch. Huangling Longchun and Huangli had also made great progress. All of them had entered the perfected Absolute Saint realm. Luo Tianyi had even successfully cultivated the light of law. As for Huangling Longchun and the others, they had also touched the edge of the light of law. As long as one didn't die, the results of training in a life-and-death situation would be shocking. If they were to cultivate normally, they would not be able to break through without a few years. Lu Xiangxiang had improved the fastest. Not only had she entered the Great Saint perfection early on, but she had also stimulated her potential during a great battle and broken through her limit in one fell swoop, entering the Absolute Saint realm. Even Lu Ming was very envious of this speed. However, after entering the Absolute Saint realm, Xiangxiang Bella's cultivation speed had also slowed down. In the past 6 months, Lu Ming had brought Ouyang Moli, Xuaningxin, Tian Shui, and a few others to participate in the battles. They had all made great progress. Ouyang Moli had the reincarnation body. In addition to the world core of the reincarnation emperor, his cultivation speed was even more terrifying. It was as if he was riding a rocket. It was only a matter of time before he caught up to Xiangxiang Bella. In the past half a year, Lu Ming had killed countless three-eyed god race experts and obtained countless resources. These resources were all converted into energy and absorbed by the Celestial Thearch's body. The energy stored in Celestial Emperor's corporeal body had finally reached 9%, not far from 10%. After half a year of intense battle, they had gained the upper hand in all aspects. They had taken back all the land that the evil god tribe had occupied and started to attack the Heavenly Emperor city. However, the evil god tribe had set up layers of defenses in the Heavenly Emperor city by relying on the city walls. After many battles, even though they had killed countless evil god tribe members, the evil god tribe was always able to replenish their numbers in an endless stream. On this day, Lu Ming had just returned to the military camp after killing for a while. An elder came to look for him. Lu Ming recognized this elder. He was a teacher from the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. The 3 great emperors want to see me? When the teacher from the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy stated his purpose for coming, Lu Ming was a little stunned. What did the 3 great emperors want to see him for? Lu Ming did not ask much. He followed the teacher from the Yuan Mountain Sacred Institute and arrived at a military tent. In the tent, the 3 great emperors sat together and seemed to be discussing something. Lu Ming, you're here. Upon seeing Lu Ming, Emperor Formless smiled. Greetings to the 3 great emperors. Lu Ming bowed, and the teacher from the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy left. Lu Ming, I'm looking for you because I need your help. Emperor Formless laughed. You need my help? Lu Ming was even more confused. Why did the great emperor ask him for help? If even the great emperor couldn't handle it, there was no use looking for him. Lu Ming, you've seen the battle during this period of time. Although we have the upper hand and have been killing the evil god tribe continuously, the evil god tribe has always been able to replenish their numbers. It's all because of that void passageway. As long as we have that void passageway, we won't be able to completely annihilate the evil god tribe. We can only form a stalemate, and the Yuan Mountain will never be able to settle down. Emperor Wuxiang said. Of the 3 great emperors, Emperor Notionless was the most eloquent, so he was the one who usually spoke up. Lu Ming nodded. Indeed, the void passageway was the foundation. As long as the void passageway existed, they would not be able to annihilate the evil god tribe completely. But what did this have to do with him? With his current cultivation, he couldn't be of much help at all. If we want to defeat the evil god tribe, we'll have to seal that void passageway. We'll need your help, Lu Ming. Emperor Wuxiang said. Great Emperor, please feel free to ask. As long as Lu Ming can help, one will definitely not decline. Lu Ming said. All right, well, take you to a place. Notionless Emperor nodded. With a wave of his hand, a surge of energy enveloped Lu Ming. Space cracked open, and the three emperors disappeared from the military tent with Lu Ming. The next moment they arrived at a valley. He did not know where this valley was, but it seemed to be very well hidden. There was a powerful force in the air. After coming here, Lu Ming felt an inexplicable throbbing, as if something was attracting him. The few of them walked forward and came to a concave land. Lu Ming saw a huge stone plate on the ground in front of him. It was round and looked like a formation plate. It looked very ancient and was filled with the aura of time. The stone plate was embedded in the ground. No, it should be said that the stone plate fell from the sky and smashed into the ground. Lu Ming could sense that the thing that attracted him was this stone tray. This stone plate has the aura of the laws of chaos. Lu Ming could not help but say, "You've sensed it." Yes, this stone plate does have the aura of the chaos laws. We speculate that this stone plate is likely to be the weapon used by one of the most powerful experts in the heaven realm, the Chaos Tharch, in the ancient times. The Skyfire Monarch spoke with a deep voice, the weapon of the Chaos Tharch. Lu Ming's eyes widened in shock. Chapter 1999. Chapter 1999. The Gathering of Great Emperors. Chapter 1999. The Gathering of Great Emperors. Primal Chaos Emperor. This stone plate might be a weapon used by the Primal Chaos Emperor. The Primal Chaos Emperor was his master, and the Primal Chaos scripture came from him. It was no wonder that Lu Ming felt that the stone tray had been attracting him ever since he arrived. Lu Ming, we speculate that this stone disc has a terrifying sealing power. If we can control it, we can seal the void passageway of the evil god tribe. It's a pity that we've tried all kinds of methods, but we can't control this stone disc. That's why we thought of you. You're the son of chaos, and you cultivate the laws of chaos. You might be able to control this stone plate and revive it. Emperor Wuxia said. All right, 111 try. Lu Ming nodded and stepped forward to the stone tray. The stone plate was huge like a small mountain. Lu Ming circulated the law of chaos and spread it toward the stone plate. Buzz. When the laws of chaos enveloped the stone plate, it seemed to resonate with the stone plate, and the stone plate trembled. Sure. The eyes of Emperor Formless, Emperor Skyfire, and Emperor Huntian all lit up. Continue. Lu Ming continued to control the chaos laws, constantly enveloping the stone plate from a distance. Buzz. The stone plate began to shake violently. Because it had been there for too long, it was covered in a layer of rocks. At this time the rocks shattered, revealing the stone plate. The stone plate was gray like a chaotic stone, and there were some strange runes carved on it. At that moment, the runes all lit up. Boom. In the end, the stone plate vibrated and flew up, hovering above Lu Ming's head. At this moment Lu Ming's mind was buzzing. He seemed to see a tall and sturdy figure controlling the array disc and fighting against the enemy. Primal Chaos Emperor. Lu Ming had an idea. That figure was indeed the Chaos Tharch. This stone plate seemed to really be the weapon of the Chaos Emperor. What a profound chaos law. At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to sense an extremely mysterious and ancient law of chaos from the stone plate. It was many times faster than what he had comprehended. At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to have a deeper understanding of the laws of chaos. During this period of cultivation, his comprehension of the chaotic laws had already reached 95%, but now he felt that he was approaching 96%. Buzz! The stone disc continued to shake, and the figure of the Chaos Tharch disappeared. The stone disc began to shrink, and finally fell into Lu Ming's hands. Haha, it seems like I've succeeded. Emperor Formless laughed. Skyfire Emperor and Huntian Emperor also smiled. However, the smiles on the three great emperors' faces immediately disappeared. Lu Ming, our original plan was to lead the army and launch a general attack to attract the enemy's attention. Then, the great emperors would suddenly charge in and kill their way to the void passageway. Then, we would seal the void passageway with the Chaos Stone Disc. However, you also know that although the other party's great emperors can't enter, there are still many great emperors left here. 2 of them were killed by the celestial emperor's corporeal body, so there are still 8 left. We've killed another 1 recently, so there are still 7 of them. Therefore it's very dangerous to go. We won't force you to go. If you don't want to go, we'll find another way. Emperor Wuxia said. That's right. Although we'll try our best to protect you, the other party is a great emperor. There's no guarantee that nothing will go wrong. So, you have to make your own decision. The Skyfire Emperor followed. After all, this matter was too dangerous. Lu Ming had to make his own decision. Oh, go. Lu Ming agreed without much consideration. As a man, there were things he should do and things he shouldn't. How could he be afraid of death and refuse such a thing? The 3 emperors nodded in satisfaction at Lu Ming's determined gaze. Lu Ming, don't worry. Even if we die, we'll protect you. Emperor Wuxia said. If you die, we will die too. Huntian Emperor spoke for the first time, but his voice was firm and powerful. Lu Ming was very touched. As a great emperor, he was high and mighty. He could have forced Lu Ming to join forces. Lu Ming could only obey. However, the other party did not. Instead, he asked for Lu Ming's opinion. He also promised that he would protect Lu Ming with his life. As a great emperor, he could do this. Lu Ming admired his character. Great emperor, are there any other great emperors on our side? Lu Ming asked. Of course. 0 then Vice, how could the 3 of us be a match for the evil god tribe? Emperor Wuxia said. Realization dawned on Lu Ming. Indeed, it was only Emperor Notionless, and the other 2. How could they be a match for the other party? Moreover, they had even killed one of the other party's people during this period of time. There were other great emperors in the dark. I'll take you to see him now, Notionless Emperor said. He then tore open space and brought Lu Ming back to the military camp. Then he sent a message. Not long after, the space fluctuated, and a figure stepped into it. This figure was covered in a milky white light. It was the holy light. It was so dazzling that people couldn't open their eyes. Back then, the people from the Tsang region's Tianshan sect also cultivated the divine light. However, compared to this, they were simply trash. Great Emperor. Lu Ming knew that this was a great emperor, and his aura was not weaker than that of Emperor Notionless and the others. Lu Ming. This is the holy emperor of the ancient saint tribe. Emperor Formless introduced. Greetings, holy emperor. Lu Ming bowed. The chaos stone plate has awakened? Said the holy emperor. His voice was cold, like a god high above. Not bad. Emperor Formless nodded, and the holy emperor didn't continue. Then, there was a spatial fluctuation, and another person arrived. This person was a great emperor from the ancient capital of Mount Yuan. He was like an unparalleled emperor. Just as the great emperor arrived, the void rippled and another figure descended. Uncle Kong! Lu Ming could not help but exclaim when he saw the figure. This figure was actually Uncle Kong. From this, it could be seen that Uncle Kong was indeed a great emperor. Could it be that Uncle Kong had been secretly participating in the battle this entire time? Greetings, Senior Dan Kong. When Uncle Kong arrived, Emperor Formless and the others all cupped their fists towards him and called him Senior. Even the cold and arrogant Holy Emperor and the emperor-like emperor saluted Uncle Kong. It seemed that Uncle Kong's seniority was high. Uncle Kong nodded. He looked very old. His muddy eyes looked at Lu Ming and said, I'll escort Lu Ming in. We're relieved that Senior Dan Kong is taking action. We'll hold off the other great emperors. Emperor Wuxiang said. Seniors, why don't one see the Hung family and the He families? Lu Ming wanted to ask the Hung family, the He family, and the great emperors of the Daluo Heaven sect. How could they be missing at this critical moment? Don't mention those old foxes who are afraid of death. When there's a big battle, they all hide and want to reap the benefits. The Holy Emperor coldly snorted. He seemed to be very unhappy with the emperors from the He and Hung families. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.